Latino.
Hello, hello. There we go. Mic not acting stupid and everything. So right now we're about to watch Pokemon World Championships. I'm gonna go over and switch to the screen now.
All right, just one question for both of you. First, Kevin, in order to come out on top in this match, what will be the most important thing for you to do in your play?
I think the most important thing for me to do is to stay calm, and even if I lose,
Here's the thing. So
if I lose the game, I have to not get.
Rumor is we're supposed to be getting a video
staying calm, not getting tilted,
or trailer
great advice for yourself.
after the final
Kevin. All right,
matches.
And same question for you.
For the new Pokemon
what do you
game.
need to do in order to win?
We
this
don't know.
match?
Rumor.
Go ahead and use it.
そうですね。この試合で優勝するために何が一番重要なんですか。
はい。EA とかのポケモンたちをうまく使いこなすことが重要だと思います。
Most important thing is that he uses his Pokemon well.
That's a great advice as well. All right, let's hear it for our two competitors. We cannot wait to watch you play. Thanks so much. Go ahead and take your seats. Casters, let's get this match started.
Thank you very much, Anna. This should be a really fun start to the VG section of Championship Sunday. Kevin and Tatsuomi are two very accomplished trainers in the juniors division. We're looking at the team matchups as well. I think this should be an explosive matchup between these two juniors.
And what's so exciting for me is that both these juniors are here with their families.
Now, I don't know if we're getting this trailer or
Tatsunomi
not.
actually competed alongside of his brother yesterday in the juniors division. Kevin and his brother Chris prepared for the tournament together last night.
Yeah,
Chris
I'm kinda
also
curious.
a regional champion, so we might have
And international.
and an international champion. So really, we might have a bit of a new Pokemon family rising here from both sides of the field.
Yeah, it was really great getting to talk to both of these trainers backstage before, seeing how confident they were, seeing how excited they were, and seeing how excited their family was backstage supporting them. But you know, the first thing I got to say out here, Gabby, with Kevin Hahn in particular, I mean, this is potentially the start of a huge run. We'll get into the accomplishments as we get prepared. But one of the big accomplishments is Kevin Hahn normally routinely takes down Masters Divisions players at our locals. He's not from Jersey technically, so I can't claim him, but he lives close enough to Jersey to participate at our NJ locals. I've definitely taken an L to him, not gonna lie. World's qualified players I was hanging out with this weekend from Tri-State, they're like, oh yeah, I've lost to Kevin too. So here at his young age in the juniors division, he's beating Masters players. It shows how impressive he is.
Let's take a look at the Pokemon matchup here between both of these trainers, as Kevin is running Calyrex Ice Rider, which is the same restricted he won the North American International Championships with, facing off against Tatsuomi's own Zamazenta. Now, you may look at this team and think it looks a little bit familiar to what we saw from Michael Kelsch the other day in the Masters division, but that Iron Treads, I I know you mentioned it earlier, Joe, because you were so excited. What a crazy Pokemon to see on a unique team like this.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think even Michael Kelch is going to be using Iron Treads. We actually saw it multiple times on stream this weekend, and it definitely makes sense for a metagame counter. That Steel ground typing, also a really fast Pokemon, has a lot of utility. We'll see if it comes to this matchup. But looking at these accomplishments, Kevin Hahn, the reigning EUIC and NAIC champion this season. So that would be quite the trifecta if he can cap the season with a Worlds win.
Not only that, he is a 7-time regional champion. We could only fit one on the graphic, so he was asked to pick his favorite regional championship, and it was Fort Wayne in 2023 because that was the same one that his older brother won in the seniors division. So they had a nice family win there. Kevin looking to continue winning here on an incredible streak. I mean, winning the European and the North American International Championships back-to-back in a season is an incredible accomplishment. His opponent, though, Tatsuomi, was able to win a round 1 bye in this competition by placing top 4 at the Japan Championships earlier on the season, but will have to face down a very formidable opponent. Once again, Calyrex Ice Rider, pretty expected on this team. But with the other Pokemon, Kevin's giving himself a lot of options. He can respond to really any strategy thrown at him.
For sure, and if you're a viewer who only shows up for Championship Sunday, you should be familiar with some of Kevin Hahn's strategies, as he has pretty much been able to iterate upon his team over the last couple of months. Some of these similar Pokemon that he's used to win other international events like the Raging Bolt, the Sand Choice Scarf.
How is the sound, guys? Does it all sound all right?
He's definitely using just really strong core Pokemon in the metagame.
So right now we're just going to chill, wait. I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff while we're waiting to see if we get the announcement.
His opponent, Tatsuomi,
but yeah, I'm going to be editing videos and
everything
while we wait for that.
Inspired very directly by Michael Kelch's win at the Stockholm Regional Championships earlier on this year. Iron Treads is certainly a very unique adaptation like we were talking about earlier, but his Tornadus has a couple of very unique tech moves in Sunny Day and Rain Dance, as you can see on the screen now. The Chi-Yu with the Choice Specs being able to deal a huge amount of damage, Rillaboom with Assault Vest. I think overall this team plays very similarly in this matchup compared to what we saw yesterday when we saw Calyrex Ice Rider facing off against the Zamazenta, but I'm sure the Tornadus and the Iron Treads were really standout Pokemon for Tatsuomi when he was playing Miraidons in Swiss.
And I do think on Tatsuomi's end, the Zamazenta is really in a premier position. This is what you do when you're only allowed one restricted Pokemon on the team. You allow the rest of the team to fill out the cores, making Zamazenta as well-rounded of a Pokemon as it can be. It's definitely going to be so important in this finals matchup. But here he has his brother, as you mentioned, also plays the game at 29th at the World Championships last year. So two family pedigrees here, championship pedigrees from both trainers.
And I do want to shout out, we asked Tatsuomi what his favorite Pokemon was, and he said Horsey, and there's actually a Horsey there on stage cheering him on, which is super exciting. But these trainers are getting into team preview, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the options here that both these trainers have. Like I just mentioned from Tatsuomi, I'm not personally anticipating seeing that Tornadus or the Iron Treads in turn 1, game 1 of this juniors finals. So I would not be surprised to see him go with a very safe lead of the Zamazenta and the Rillaboom to give himself options to respond to Kevin's team, which again, there's so many good Pokemon on their team. There's so many different ways he could approach that matchup. I think it's very difficult to say, this is the first game I'm playing against this opponent. I don't know how he's going to approach this. I should give myself options.
Right, for sure. And I think on Kevin's end, it's going to be so important to make sure that Tatsuomi's Zamazenta is not comfortable. We see so many times on stream, if a Zamazenta can sit on the stage, click Terra Dragon, click Body Press every turn, and really not be threatened whatsoever from getting knocked out, it just does too much damage over time. So Kevin is going to need to focus on Pokemon that will threaten the Zamazenta.
He will, and he has several options for that, but we'll just just have to take a look for ourselves to see what both these trainers locked into as this game is ready to go.
All right, it is time to start the juniors finals here at the Pokemon World Championships in Honolulu. The crowd is hype. We're gonna have Calyrex Ice Rider Incineroar for the lead in game one, and Kevin Hans and Tatsuomi Shimanuki with Zamazenta Rillaboom with the spectator mode too.
I know, it's always so exciting to see just how incredible the crowd looks in the game for these World Finals. But let's go ahead and talk about the board state here, because this Incineroar is a great supporting option for the Calyrex, but is going to be a bit slower typically than the opposing Rillaboom. So you have to be very careful for fake out on both sides of the field. My big question for Kevin is he considering Trick Room in this matchup or not? Because Calyrex Ice Rider is going to be slower than both of the Pokemon on Tatsuomi's side of the field. Does seem like a great opportunity here to try and use it either this turn or next turn, as of right now, the Zamazenta does not have enough attack power to take it out in one hit.
Yeah, I think the Trick Room really does make a lot of sense, Gabby, because looking at Tatsuomi's team, Zamazenta, fastest thing out of all the Pokemon. Choice Scarf on the Chi-Yu as well. The Tornadus is also super fast. Iron Tread's an incredibly fast Pokemon that Kevin Han might be able to twist the dimensions and switch up the narrative. But for now, it will be Terra Ghost Incineroar on the first turn here. Kevin using Terra right away. Tatsuomi protecting the Zamazenta, doesn't want to take any damage. Kevin matching that energy with a protect of his own on the Ice Rider. Rillaboom goes to the fake out, but it's into the protect on Calyrex, so Kevin doesn't take any damage this turn, and now it's time for a parting shot, but it goes towards the protect, so really smart, safe play from Tatsuomi.
A lot of times when you see Terra Ghost on an Incineroar, you assume that it is there to stop fake out. Once you are a ghost type Pokemon, normal type attacks don't work. But fighting type attacks don't work either. And in the Zamazenta matchup in particular, if you can afford to use the Terastallization on your Incineroar, you essentially set up a Pokemon that cannot take damage from Zamazenta. And what's better than not taking damage? Reducing the damage it can do as well. And just as you pointed out, Joe Brown, this Incineroar knows Will-O-Wisp, and that would be such an amazing move for Kevin in this turn.
Right onto either of Tatsuomi's Pokemon here that are both physical attackers. Yes, Body Press uses the defense stat instead of your attack stat, but it would still work pretty well. Here's the double target with the Grassy Terrain boost from the Woodhammer. It's not enough to take out Calyrex Ice Rider, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format. Will-O-Wisp connecting onto Tatsuomi's Zamazenta. So now it is burned. It will be doing half of the damage from its attacks. Trick Room successfully going up. Now for the next 4 turns on Kevin's end with these Twisted Dimensions, the slower Pokemon will move first, and that's bad news for Tatsuomi.
It is bad news for Tatsuomi, but he does still have some plays he can make here. While the Rillaboom is at full health, there is a chance prior to any attack boost on that Calyrex that it can survive a Glacial Lance, assuming there's still a partner standing next to it to reduce the damage. So if Tatsuomi has trained his Rillaboom to survive that attack, he can fire off another Woodhammer into that Calyrex. We saw that it didn't do as much damage as one would assume thanks to the Intimidate from that Incineroar, but it's still going to put it within knockout range of another attack, which is exactly why Kevin decides
Anybody
to
watching,
keep it
thank you
safe
for
and
stopping
switch
by.
out.
We just watching the end for the closing ceremonies. Hopefully we can, hopefully at the end of this we can get that trailer that was rumored to be dropping, because it hasn't dropped. Let's hope that's happening.
Pokemon. The
In the meantime, I am going to
will be wasted since the Calyrex swapped off the field. Anyway, parting shot,
I'll be
landing
making
into
comments
this
and
Rillaboom,
watching,
lowering its attack and
but at the
special
same
attack
time working on
by
videos.
one stage. But of course, if it goes for the Woodhammer into this resisted Raging Bolts on the other end, it's still going to be a solid defensive swap for Kevin.
It is, and it also gives him the opportunity to send that Calyrex right back out onto the field once the damage has been lowered even further. U-turn targeting down that Raging Bolt also means that Calyrex doesn't take any damage from that switch, essentially swapping spots so it could dodge the U-turn.
Right, and now Tatsuomi's gonna have to reveal his 3rd Pokemon in this game. What is one of those Pokemon in the back that are all generally speedy, say, except for Raging Bolt. The other 3 are pretty fast Pokemon that would not be working quickly under Trick Room.
Exactly, and I do want to take a moment to talk about the overall positioning of Kevin in this Trick Room right now as he sends in the Iron Iron Treads. Joe, he brought it.
Iron Treads is essentially anti-Miraidon, anti-Raging Bolt. They're both electric dragon types. You're immune to electric as a ground type, and you resist dragon as a steel type. So Tatsuomi doesn't care if it's going to be moving slower under Trick Room. He knows he's hardly going to take any damage from either Glacial Lance or a Draco Meteor.
And unfortunately for Kevin, I think he has to make a very defensive play here, either by switching out one of these Pokemon or by letting them get KO'd this turn, most likely from an attack from that Iron Treads, and then send in your Incineroar the next turn to threaten it with Intimidate, to threaten it with a Will-O-Wisp.
I don't really know who's going to win
It's a very
battle.
unique Pokemon that I don't think he's encountered throughout his run here at the World Championships. So let's see how he's going to plan a strategy around the huge threat that it brings.
And you have to wonder what Tatsuomi's strategy is on which Pokemon to terrestrialize here in game one. As Zamazenta's had some damage mitigation from the burn, might not be as valuable. You turn into a dragon type, and you'll be very weak to both of Kevin's Pokemon. So maybe it's up to this Iron Treads or Rillaboom later on in this game one to terrestrialize and change the dynamic. It will be just to protect, though, on Kevin's end, as well as Iron Treads protecting. So if Zamazenta went for the protect, it wouldn't work. But of course, goes for a body press, not doing any damage.
Good information all around for these trainers. In addition, by double protecting there, Kevin ensures that he can target down attacks into that Iron Treads when it doesn't have protect available to it. A little bit strange to be double protecting throughout your own Trick Room, but I think given the Pokemon on the field, more information is better. You can see how your opponent wants to use that Iron Treads, and then you can, again, adjust to the game plan at hand.
It is two steel types on the other end facing down Kevin's Raging Bolt. So these Draco Meteors, even if they are boosted from the booster energy increasing its special attack stat, would still be resisted. Tatsuomi making a big call on this turn to swap that Iron Treads back out into the Rillaboom. High horsepower into the ground type is now resisted, so a really smart call. But the Draco connects, it hits Rillaboom, hangs on in the red. The double target does not get the KO, and now Body Press will hit into the Calyrex, bringing it a little bit lower.
There's one more turn of Trick Room remaining now, and the Rillaboom has access to Fake Out once again to flinch either of the Pokemon on Kevin's side of the field. So even though Tatsuomi's own Zamazenta fell short of doing any significant damage that turn, it is in such a prime position here. You can wide guard any attempts at Glacial Lance to deny Calyrex the Chilling Neigh boost from knocking out the Rillaboom. You can go ahead and target down another attack to either of the Pokemon on the opposing side of the field if Rillaboom opts to go for Fake Out. Tatsuomi is almost guaranteed to make it through this Trick Room relatively unharmed.
Calyrex will swap out in this position, so a little bit worried about a Fake Out going into that slot. And now that Incineroar with the Terra Ghost, it would be immune to the Fake Out if that's what Rillaboom wants to go for. But Tatsuomi had a really smart play the previous turn. Can he get another advantage here on the last turn of Trick Room? Kevin revealing Urshifu Rapid Strike, so he's shown off all four Pokemon he brought in game one, and smartly does not click the Fake Out, instead uses that momentum to U-turn out.
One strategy that has been popular in Pokemon for almost an eternity at this point is this idea that as long as you can keep switching your Pokemon in and out on the field, you can reposition, you can respond to whatever threats your opponent brings. And with the reveal of that Chi-Yu from Tatsuomi, there is so much damage potential from him on the field right now. Kevin is almost forced to target down that Pokemon with his own Urshifu, because if you leave it unchecked, it can now do super effective damage to the Incineroar and can also threaten huge damage onto the opposing Calyrex Ice Rider with a fire attack.
Right, and the Urshifu is so crucial right now for Kevin, because the Choice Scarf is allowing it to outspeed Chi-Yu on the other end, who's holding the Choice Specs item. So that would be one thing that definitely threatens Tatsuomi's Chi-Yu from trying to click and attack this turn. Kevin instead will swap out.
Raging Bolt will take the field once again, and we do get a terastallization from Tatsuomi. It is the Chi-Yu terastallizing into the Ghost type.
So two Ghost Terras here in game one. A very spooky start to our juniors finals. Surging Strikes now means it is just a neutral hit, no longer super effective. So these three critical hits are not going to be enough to take out the Chi-Yu on this turn. Tatsuomi really playing smartly in game one. Body press follow-up into the Urshifu, not enough.
And a Dark Pulse now from that Chi-Yu into the Raging Bolt. Almost takes it out in a single hit. And that is the power of the combination of Choice Specs and the Beads of Ruin ability. It means your special attacks do so much damage. Even though Chi-Yu locked into a single target attack, this Chi-Yu, if given the opportunity to attack, could easily KO the Urshifu or this Raging Bolt. Now, Kevin does have options to get around the Chi-Yu. The Urshifu is still naturally faster, and we did see that another Surging Strikes would be enough to lock in that KO. But the Raging Bolt also has access to a priority attack in Thunderclap. So if Kevin assumes the Chi-Yu will be attacking again this turn, you can KO it first.
Incineroar swaps into the Urshifu slot. Urshifu was hit by a body press the last 2 consecutive turns. So now Kevin anticipating if body press goes into that slot, now you will be immune to it as a ghost type. Tatsuomi being on the advantage instead of clicking a Dark Pulse yet again will swap into the Rillaboom, resetting up the grassy terrain, helping his Zamazenta recover just a little bit of HP every single turn. But the body press goes towards Raging Bolt for the knockout. He knew that it was too risky to target the Urshifu slot and gets rewarded KOing Raging Bolt.
Even if Raging Bolt opted to Thunderclap that Zamazenta so it could attack before being knocked out, Zamazenta has so much health it wouldn't have mattered. Tatsuomi said this when we were talking to him before the game. He loves bulky Pokemon. He loves having the ability to stay on the field and take all of these hits. And even though this Zamazenta was weakened by an Intimidate, was weakened by a Burn, it is still doing enough damage thanks to the time it has to make a huge difference in his game plan.
Now this Calyrex is already down to about a third of its HP. Sure, the Incineroar has effectively full HP, but there's no Trick Room up. Your Restricted is very close to being knocked out. Losing Raging Bolt, who does so much damage on Kevin's end. It's such a difficult position here in game one.
It is. That all being said, though, with the combination of Urshifu and Calyrex still available at this moment in time, I think Kevin has a little bit of options here. This Urshifu has the Choice Scarf, like we were talking about earlier, but it also has Coaching, which means there's a way to power up this Calyrex. One thing he could consider doing here after a turn of Fake Out and maybe even setting up Trick Room again is to try to power up this Calyrex so it can make a bigger difference in this matchup.
Rillaboom just clicking U-turn almost as if it's choice locked into it, but it's not. Consistently, Rillaboom swaps onto the field as a defensive pivot, and then he'll U-turn into something else in the back, revealing the Iron Treads yet again. It's been a while, but it looks pretty poised right now until Calyrex twists the dimensions. That means Kevin got to bring his Calyrex on the field and set Trick Room up for a second time in game one.
It is a second time, but again, there's so much damage on the field, and I'm not sure if Kevin can match that damage from Tatsuomi. Calyrex Ice Rider did manage to twist the dimensions in its favor, which means it will be able to attack first. But like you were saying, Joe, this Iron Treads will be able to take a hit from it quite comfortably. It's most likely going to need 2 hits from High Horsepower or Glacial Lance to secure that KO. Meanwhile, Zamazenta is still free to try and wide guard if you want to stop this Calyrex from attacking, or you can continue to use those body pressures to just wear down the HP of your opponent.
Well, Kevin has protected his Calyrex Ice Rider on the turn. Knockoff goes into that protect. Tatsuomi is just making so many great decisions turn after turn in game one. The body press will hit Calyrex's protect, so no damage really from anybody. Just a little bit of HP recovery thanks to the grassy terrain.
While the HP recovery is nice, though, it's not necessarily going to help even out the Pokemon count here. You have to start looking at how Kevin can go on the offense in this matchup. Iron Treads is certainly the bigger enemy here, as with grassy terrain active on the field, you can utilize Steel Roller. It's a steel type attack. It has a very high base power, but it only works when there's terrain on the field. It'll also remove the terrain by using that move. Now, you might look at that Zamazenta and think, well, he could appreciate some healing. You know, you're going to be taking damage over time thanks to the burn. However, I think in this scenario, you don't necessarily mind losing your terrain because it's going to stop your opponent's Pokemon from recovering as well. But it looks like Iron Treads is just content to keep waiting out this Trick Room.
Iron Treads really just being a more of a warning on Tatsuomi's end, like, hey, eventually I'm going to click a hit here. Rillaboom hangs on with 1 HP. forcing the knockoff to go into that slot. Double target, finally Rillaboom goes down with what will be 1 turn of grassy terrain remaining, but what a crucial survival from the Rillaboom there. The hit from Body Press will bring Calyrex down low, but just because of that burn from so many turns ago, Gabby, it's really not doing enough damage.
That's a very common strategy when facing off against Zamazenta as well. You lock in the Ghost-type Terrestrialization on your Incineroar, so it'll really struggle to deal damage. You put a burn onto that Zamazenta, so it will struggle to deal damage to everything else on your team, and you kind of wait it out. That being said, though, with the juxtaposition of the Iron Treads right next to it, all you have to do this turn is double protect, Trick Room ends, and now you're able to go on the offense and really threaten some huge damage.
Tatsuomi doing exactly what you mentioned, the double protect, so he doesn't take any damage from Kevin's super powerful Pokemon on his side. That high horsepower goes into Iron Head to protect, as well as Incineroar's knockoff there. So you can see that's multiple turns in a row, or of the last times that Iron Head has been on the field, that he has been double targeting that slot because it is such a massive threat.
It is, and now that the Twisted Dimensions have returned to normal as well, the Iron Treads is going to be one of the fastest Pokemon on the field. So if Kevin wants to avoid damage this turn, you can certainly protect for a turn, but that's not going to necessarily help you navigate the situation any better. I think you have to go on the offense. Just try and land as much damage into that Iron Treads as possible, and then also start setting things up so that your Choice Scarf Rillaboom in the back, or excuse me, Choice Scarf or Shifu in the back of your party can deal some big damage.
There's the high horsepower.
Whoa.
It's super effective, but it's not enough. He hangs on. Incineroar going first because of Trick Room. Double target means Iron Treads. All of those turns of positioning meant it doesn't get any attacks off. The Life 4 being knocked off as well. Here's the Body Press, but because of the prior health recovery from the grassy terrain turns, Calyrex hangs through the hit.
And now Trick Room has ended. And now it's just the Zamazenta and the Chi-Yu standing on the field for Kevin, or for Tatsuomi. Kevin still has a full health Incineroar, but it is going to be taking super effective damage from the Chi-Yu's dark type attacks. And there, of course, is that Zamazenta as well still for Tatsuomi. That being said, though, the victory conditions for Kevin are starting to look good. All you have to do is take out that Chi-Yu, and the Zamazenta is just going to struggle to deal damage.
There's 3 minutes left here in this game 1. That is how long and back and forth this battle between these juniors has gone. Dark Pulse though, into the Ghost Incineroar.
It's a one-hit.
Oh, the one-hit KO. Choice Specs, Beads of Ruin, boosted damage from this Pokemon is just so difficult. The Terra Ghost that helped Kevin on turn 1 is costing him late in the game.
That Terra Ghost is not as safe to make if there is a Pokemon like Chi-Yu in the back. So that is an adjustment that Kevin will have to make going into game 2 of this matchup. For now, you certainly can utilize your Urshifu to outspeed and knock out that Chi-Yu before it uses something like Dark Pulse to knock out your own Calyrex Ice Rider. But it's at such low health, there is no more grassy terrain recovery around. Another Body Press honestly should do it.
There is the Surging Strikes from Urshifu knocking out this Terra Ghost Chi-Yu, who did so much work for Tatsuomi here in game 1, getting that huge one-hit KO into the Incineroar. 2 minutes left, but I don't know if it's going to last long enough with these 3 Pokemon remaining. Body Press into the Calyrex, takes it down. Finally, it felt like he's been clicking Body Press for literally 18 minutes, and he finally gets rewarded.
Well, technically with 3 minutes remaining, your math is not far off there, Joe. But yes, we are down to the final 2 Pokemon here. Urshifu will continue to move first, and we will continue to see these Surging Strikes connect 3 times with the Zamazenta. It looks like it's going to take 1 more Surging Strikes to lock in that KO here. Let's see how it does.
Will Incineroar be able to help give Kevin the win? No! Urshifu can't take the Body Press, and Tatsuomi Shimanuki is going to win a long drawn-out game 1.
Bulky Pokemon indeed.
Absolutely.
That Zamazenta was incredible. It showed up on the field turn 1, and it didn't leave, even though it was burned, even though it was intimidated. That Pokemon just was not afraid of anything that Kevin had to bring into that battle. And the way that Tatsuomi almost tricked Kevin into terastallizing that Incineroar to handle the Zamazenta matchup better, only to bring the Chi-Yu was such an amazing call in that game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Kevin is going to be prepared for here in Game 2, to hold your horses a little bit with the Calyrex team on terastallizing. Don't Terra right away on turn 1, because you don't know what Tatsuomi's plan is going to be, especially after you have so much success of burning Zamazenta, really mitigating so much of the damage that Tatsuomi's restricted Pokemon can provide to your side of the field. I feel like maybe you saving your terastallization flexibility just like he did could be the key in Game 2.
It could be the key in Game 2 as well. I also think when we're talking about adjustments, you have to just look at how heavily board positioning came into play between both of these trainers. We saw that Rillaboom swap in twice for Tatsuomi to take a ground type attack for the Iron Treads. We also saw just how Kevin zoned in on that Iron Treads turn after turn in the Twisted Dimensions. I think that's something that Tatsuomi can continue to use to his advantage. Maybe showcase that Iron Treads early on, make sure that Kevin's thinking about it, and then use that to influence how the board is going to progress throughout Game 2.
I'm also really wondering, I don't believe it would have mattered, but I think that Rillaboom hang-on was so crucial because that knockoff would have targeted Zamazenta. Yes, it is a resisted attack, so it wouldn't do too much damage, but it's not like Zamazenta ended the game with too much hit points remaining anyway. So just Rillaboom, even if it didn't get many attacks off, just that health recovery, the fake out pressure, the U-turn positioning is just so crucial for Tatsuomi in Game 1.
It was, and I really love how Rillaboom has become this support titan in the Regulation G. Honestly, it seems like Rillaboom is more useful than Incineroar in a format, which is something I never thought I would say coming into this weekend. Just because being able to provide flinch support, being able to pivot and deal some damage, and also to be able to heal up your partners is so huge. You see it mattering a lot more in matchups against Pokemon like Miraidon, where the terrain adds another level of strategy you need to manage throughout everything, but still, overall, a very powerful Pokemon, giving Zamazenta that support and really taking all those hits for the Iron Treads.
What a back and forth Game 1 that was, really going down to the wire and down to the timer almost because of how long the decisions took every turn. You had so many U-turn swaps and many other decisions that they made along the way. So many double protects as well. Remember, we went through 2 full Twisted Dimensions. That hardly ever happens in VGC.
It does, and I also noticed as well that Kevin was doing a fantastic job throughout that matchup of managing when he needed to use Trick Room to the advantage of the Calyrex Ice Rider, and when he needed to double protect to stall out his own Trick Room so that he can enable the other Pokemon on his team. It just shows how comfortable he is with this restricted Pokemon, which makes sense. He was on the stage at New Orleans, and he was able to win thanks to the help of Calyrex Ice Rider.
And this is not the first time Kevin Hahn has had his back against the wall here in Honolulu. Kevin started Swiss 1 and 2 and was very stressed, but his brother Chris gave him the confidence he needed to continue on through the day, winning those next 5 rounds, winning his top cut matches 2-0 as we mentioned earlier. So if Kevin is of any of the juniors trainers here in Honolulu, Kevin's certainly one of them that can make a comeback.
For sure, and also all of that experience as well, winning multiple regionals titles, multiple international titles. Tatsuomi, this is really his breakout performance at a competition. He got top 4 at the Japan Championship Series this year, but really prior to that, he had no other accomplishments, just because I think there's really only a couple of opportunities that people from that region have. But still, this could be his opportunity to write his name in the stars along with all of our other world champions this weekend, as we're gonna go ahead and jump into game number 2.
Tatsuomi 1 game away from becoming the juniors division world champion here in Honolulu, but Kevin Hahn, of course, might have something to say about that. It will be Incineroar and Calyrex Ice Rider as the lead for Kevin in game 2, compared to Zamazenta Chi-Yu for Tatsuomi.
A big adjustment here from Tatsuomi as the presence of the Chi-Yu threatens away the Ghost-type terrestrialization on that Incineroar, and it also threatens huge damage onto the Calyrex Ice Rider. A lot of times, Calyrex Ice Rider will terrestrialize into a Fire-type in this position just so you don't take super effective damage from this Pokemon, or you even get resisted damage depending on what attack the opponent picks. I would not be surprised to see Kevin go for that this turn here. You could try and set up Trick Room again early, but I think you have to prioritize getting another burn down onto that Zamazenta, and then you need to start doing damage a bit more aggressively.
And it's a tough decision for Tatsuomi, as you mentioned, the fake out potential into Zamazenta or the Will-O-Wisp, which landed very early on in game 1 and just hurt so much damage. But he's gonna listen here and adjusting. Instead of Incineroar terrestrializing in game 1, we're gonna go with the horse who brung us, and Calyrex Terra Fire on this turn would resist a potential heat wave going into that slot. Fake out from Incineroar stopped Zamazenta's attack on the turn thanks to that flinch, but it's a Dark Pulse into the still Dark type Incineroar, gonna take that way better here in game 2. Now Trick Room is up, Calyrex fully healthy, and Incineroar still with a lot of HP.
With a lot of HP and a lot of time on the field to land another burn against that Zamazenta, to Parting Shot out to weaken the attack or the special attack of Tatsuomi's Pokemon. There are plenty of options that he did not have in the previous game thanks to the Fire-type terrestrialization, and again, just how these Pokemon are going to struggle to do damage as a result.
GU, because of that Choice Specs held item, is forced essentially to swap out on this turn to reset the attack it wants to click later. And of course, Rillaboom is one of the best Pokemon you could choose to swap in. Besides the Glitch, there's no Wide Guard! Zamazenta didn't click the Wide Guard, and Rillaboom takes the whole brunt of that hit. That's going to be a one-hit KO and an attack boost for Calyrex.
Learning from game 1 where that Rillaboom swapped in to take high horsepower, that Chi-Yu got off the field, Rillaboom knocked out, and now Zamazenta burned alongside of it.
Insult to injury or burn as well. 2 games in a row that Will-O-Wisp has connected. The body press is still super effective into the Dark type Incineroar, so it's more than enough for the KO. They do trade 2 very strong Pokemon, but I would definitely say Kevin Hahn comes out on top. 1, Zamazenta's its damage hurt because of the burn, and Calyrex got the attack boost.
Calyrex got the attack boost. Zamazenta is going to be the slowest Pokemon on the field, but hey, that Iron Treads is still here. Tatsuomi opting to bring the same 4 Pokemon into this matchup that we saw from him in game number 1. Going back to game number 1, we saw this Iron Treads go for Protect in this situation just to see what Kevin will lock into. Again, we saw Kevin very consistently target down that slot with a high horsepower. Rillaboom's no longer there to take those attacks, so even if your opponent protects this turn, you're eventually going to land it.
Right, there's essentially no need to worry about the Wide Guard mind games for Glacial Lance when you have 2 Steel types on the field that don't want to take a high horsepower, and a Fire type Chi-Yu in the back that wouldn't want to swap into it either. So Kevin smartly clicking the Glacial, or the high horsepower, excuse me. Thunderbolt will go into the Protect, and wouldn't hit Iron Treads anyway in case he hit that slot, but there are 2 turns of Trick Room left for Kevin.
There are 2 turns of Trick Room and 3 turns of Grassy Terrain, which means that Zamazenta will have a couple more turns to not necessarily keep that burn damage around. That all being said, though, Kevin is in the driver's seat for this matchup as he can go on the offense. One thing I do want to call out here is the fact that getting that Glacial Lance to connect with that Rillaboom a couple turns ago was so important for him because of the risk of Wide Guard on that Zamazenta.
It's Terra Bug Iron Treads. We are not making it up, everybody. One of the bug typing, one of the most underrepresented types in all of Pokemon, will help the Iron Treads take that high horsepower, resisting it. But the critical hit Thunderbolt means Iron Treads can't survive the turn, and Zamazenta's all by himself on the battlefield right now. That could have been an amazing Terra for Tatsuomi, but instead, it's going to result in a KO.
Zamazenta doing its best to get a little bit of damage thanks to body press down onto the opposing Calyrex Ice Rider. Tatsuomi is now down to his final 2 Pokemon. Chi-Yu, who cannot protect thanks to the Choice Specs item that it's holding, and that Zamazenta. This is also going to be the final turn of Trick Room. So while this Calyrex Ice Rider still needs to click high horsepower to be safe, it is able to land that against the Chi-Yu and pick up that KO.
There's the one-hit KO into Chi-Yu, so it's Calyrex's second knockout of the game, getting another attack boost. And here's the booster energy, aided, I should say, Thunderbolt into Zamazenta, doing over half. That's the other important thing from that turn before, Gabby, is that the booster energy onto Raging Bolt's special attack meant that Thunderbolt does even more damage, meaning the critical hit is even stronger.
It is, and with just Zamazenta remaining on the field for Tatsuomi, I think it's time we turn our eyes towards a game number 3 here in the Juniors Finals at the World Championships.
Kevin Hahn has forced a final and decisive Game 3 against his junior opponent, Tatsuomi Shimanuki. The winner of this match is going to leave Honolulu as the Junior Division World Champion. And I think, Tatsuomi, I think we would agree, Gabby, those 4 Pokemon seem to be the core 4 to bring, but that turn 1 was just so great from Kevin.
It was an incredible adjustment from Kevin. Again, recognizing that the Ghost-type Terastallization on that Incineroar was punished by the presence of the Chi-Yu. And when your opponent leads Chi-Yu and you know that it's there, that gives you all the confidence you need to lock in the Fire-type Terastallization on that Calyrex Ice Rider. That was also an amazing play from Kevin here, where he did go for Glacial Lance despite the presence of a wide guard on the Zamazenta, correctly predicting that his opponent wouldn't go for it.
I love to see the emotion. I love to see the passion. These are the trainers that are the future of the competitive Pokemon circuit. Seeing how passionate they are now makes us so happy to see how much they're going to grow as trainers. This is one of the toughest matches they'll face in their short lives so far, but it's going to help them progress to even better players once they make it to the Masters Division.
That being said, though, there's still only one battle separating both of these trainers from the title of Junior World Champion, and we spent a little bit there talking about how Kevin adjusted his game plan between games 1 and 2. Let's take a moment to talk about how Tatsuomi could potentially adjust his game plan going into this game number 3. When you think about how that first game played out, it was really the positioning between the Rillaboom and the Iron Treads that gave him the time he needed to get through Trick Room and ultimately win the game. We saw Kevin adapt to that in game number 2, but to me that means in game number 3 you can also make an adaptation. You know, maybe you assume that your opponent knows there's the Iron Treads on the field, there's a possibility for high horsepower, I'll make that switch, and then go ahead and turn that against it.
Yeah, I think Tatsuomi is in a really tough spot mentally. Let's not say for the Pokemon, obviously there's so many difficult decisions you have to make every single turn. Do I swap? Do I protect? Can I stop Trick Room from going up? Can I punish Terrafire Calyrex a little bit better than I did in game 2? But you only have access to these 6 Pokemon that brought you this far. So, you know, you're going to have to worry, what are those options to stop the Trick Room from Terrafire Calyrex?
There aren't that many options, unfortunately. You can try and make an incredible prediction and get damage down into that slot. If you're able to catch a Fire-type Terastallization with a high horsepower, that could be one out. But instead, we're seeing a very similar lead here from Tatsuomi in game number 3.
This is for all the marbles, everybody. Game 3, Kevin Hahn, Tatsuomi Shimanuki. Tatsuomi with Chi-Yu Zamazenta. They've swapped sides, but it's the same lead. And then Urshifu Rapid Strike next to Calyrex Ice Rider. That Urshifu has the Choice Scarf. It's faster than Chi-Yu.
It's faster than Chi-Yu, and while we know that Chi-Yu can Terastallize to survive the hit from the Urshifu, that is a big commitment for Tatsuomi to make in turn 1 of game 3 here. If he has that Iron Tread still in the back of his party, he might want to save Terastallization for that bug type. On the other side of the field, Kevin really can comfortably go for that Fire-type Terastallization once again on the Calyrex, knowing that the Chi-Yu has already been revealed.
But Zamazenta has to feel at least comfortable in some capacity this turn, since Incineroar is not here to ruin its day and burn it with Will-O-Wisp. It's potentially in the back, you have to be prepared for that, but it is not on the field on turn 1, so you can't burn these body presses into the other side. Kevin Hahn Terastallizing Urshifu Rapid Strike, getting additional damage from those water attacks, the surging strikes. They're already massive, and they're going to be even bigger in this game. There's no protects. There's no, you can't protect anyway in front of GU, or with GU. That's only a 2-hit KO. You don't even need the third surging strike.
A huge momentum shift for Kevin as he's able to secure a knockout on the first move of the first turn of this game 3.
And there's the body press. That does some pretty solid damage into your Shifu. Definitely cannot take another one. Here's the Glacial Lance that is ineffective thanks to Zamazenta's steel typing. So you do lose your GU, but you do get a lot of damage onto your Shifu, and Trick Room is not set up.
And you also cover for the potential Rillaboom switch in that turn. Instead, GU was just knocked out, which means we do get the Rillaboom here now. Urshifu, very threatened by this Pokemon. It is more than within a Grassy Glide knockout range. So if Kevin wants to save that Urshifu for later on in this game, again, to put more pressure down onto the Zamazenta, which Tatsuomi has shown us time and time again is very comfortable staying on the field, you have to switch that Pokemon out. Without Chi-Yu around, though, this seems like a great opportunity for Incineroar to take the field.
Right, exactly. One, because Incineroar would love to just switch in general in front of the grass type on Rillaboom on the other end. But of course, because Rillaboom, or excuse me, Urshifu's locked into the Choice Scarf Surging Strikes, it would take a tough spot. But instead, he's going to use Surging Strikes with your Urshifu. Knows that potentially this Rapid Strike Pokemon is not long for the rest of this match. So let me get some more critical hit damage off on the field. Bring Zamazenta down to under half of its HP remaining. So the body press will knock out Urshifu. He's done its job. He's done, essentially 1.5 times the HP bars of Tatsuomi's Pokemon. So Urshifu has put in so much work in game 3. But it's the U-turn from Rillaboom. The real question is, did Calyrex go for the Stomping Tantrum into Zamazenta?
We'll have to wait just a little bit longer to get that information, but we do get the reveal of Tatsuomi's final Pokemon, and once again, it is the Iron Treads taking the field.
It's Trick Room instead of the attack, so now on the second turn of the game, Kevin is able to twist those dimensions, and you have a free switch into either the Incineroar or whatever the fourth Pokemon in the back will be for Kevin.
I love this positioning from Kevin there as well. One thing that Tatsuomi could have done in that previous turn is target down the Calyrex Ice Rider with both an attack from that Zamazenta and a Wood Hammer from that Rillaboom to get very close, if not knock it out outright. But because we saw Kevin commit to that Trick Room, recognizing that he might lose a Pokemon that turn, as long as Trick Room is there for a Raging Bolt, or a Raging Bolt can come in while the Urshifu is still around, that is still a very favorable board position for him, as the Calyrex will still be able to attack first, and the Raging Bolt should underspeed the Zamazenta as well.
Yeah, the Zamazenta already under half HP, so it's in a really critical position for Tatsuomi. You can get some recovery every turn with the Protect, as grassy terrain is here. It'll give you a little bit of HP at the end of each turn. Double Protect from Kevin here on the turn. We've actually seen that now multiple times, that as he sets up his own Trick Room, he will then protect the following turn. Iron Treads goes for the Protect as well to keep itself safe. Body Press doesn't hit into the Raging Bolt, so no damage from anybody, only health recovery.
And Kevin, again, anticipating the Protect on that Iron Treads to ensure that Zamazenta can't find a knockout in this turn. Now you can fairly safely target into the Iron Treads with your Pokemon. You do still have to worry about a Wide Guard, and you do have to worry about the Rillaboom switching in for that Iron Treads as well. So there's a bit of a mind game here as to what attack Kevin uses with that Calyrex. But still, none of these Pokemon are necessarily worried about being knocked out this turn. And as you can see, Calyrex actually switching out to keep itself safe. So Kevin just going on the offense with the Raging Bolt. Kevin
going to reveal his fourth and final Pokemon in game 3, being the Incineroar. Let's see if Tatsuomi was prepared for this situation. These Trick Room turns are so tricky to get through when you're not the Pokemon or the trainer that takes advantage of it. Terra Bug Iron Treads yet again in game 3. Last time it was double targeted, so that's why it wasn't able to hang going on, but he did get crit by a booster energy Thunderbolt from Raging Bull. This time it goes towards the Zamazenta, and Tatsuomi has lost his restricted Pokemon in Game 3. It's this, just the Iron Treads, Steel Roller with the grassy terrain into a fire type. It does hardly anything.
It does hardly anything, and it will also tear up the grassy terrain on the field. Rillaboom will be back out shortly to reset that terrain and give Iron Treads access to Steel Roller once again, but you really wanted to land that attack into the Calyrex Ice Rider, which is why you terrastalize, so you can take those hits. That all being said, though, with 2 turns of Trick Room remaining, Tatsuomi is on the back foot. You have access to fake out this turn. You can go ahead and maybe protect your Iron Treads for one of these turns, or fake out and protect to get through both turns. But you have to find your way through Trick Room in order to keep an advantage and keep yourself in the game for that World Champion title.
Incineroar does not have a fire attack. There is no Flare Blitz because of Will-O-Wisp being that 4th slot. So both of these, the grass and bug types on the field right now, are not threatened by super effective damage. Draco Meteor lands into Iron Treads. It's going to be more than enough for the KO, and Tatsuomi losing his terrestrialized Pokemon. It's just Rillaboom versus the world.
Rillaboom does have that grassy terrain to help keep its health higher and also boost the damage of its grass type attacks. But with a Calyrex Ice Rider waiting in the wings, will it have enough in the tank to take all 3 of these KOs?
That's the forfeit, and Kevin Hahn throughout the season has proved he's the best junior in the world. EUIC champion, NAIC champion, and now world champion in the juniors division for the Pokemon video game.
With an excellent piloting of that Calyrex Ice Rider team, being able to anticipate his opponent's adjustments throughout all 3 of those incredibly long games. Kevin has shown us just why he is one of the most awarded junior champions in Pokemon video game history.
Games 2 and 3 arguably were shorter combined than Game 1 was. There was so much back and forth in Game 1. These 2 trainers playing at an elite level, trying to figure out their tendencies, trying to figure out their play styles on what type of risky decisions they can get rewarded for. And Kevin losing Game 1 and coming back to win the series is so impressive.
Tatsuomi's play throughout that matchup was impressive as well. Who would have expected to see Iron Treads in that matchup, ready to threaten all that damage down onto the Incineroar, onto the Calyrex Ice Rider? Tatsuomi recognizing that it was definitely the Pokemon to play there, and I think I owe you a bit of humble pie, Joe Brown, as I said we would not be seeing that bug-type terrestrialization, and...
So nice we saw it twice.
Yeah, it was so nice we saw it twice, so congratulations. I give that one to you.
Thank you. I tell you, let's look at the replay. This first turn was so huge because Chi-Yu being led instead of in the back. It meant that even if you Terra Ghost, Surging Strike still does a lot, right? And the follow-up attack would be able to knock it out regardless. So I think Kevin kind of just playing his own game. Maybe Game 1 was too worried about what Tatsuomi was doing. Instead, Game 2 and 3 say, hey, what is my win condition? If I just take down the Chi-Yu slot, if I get Zamazenta down under half and then any chip damage later on will take care of it, it's better to focus on my win conditions than my opponents.
I'm so glad you mentioned that Chi-Yu as well, because I think going into game number 1, Kevin was not sure if that Pokemon would be making an appearance in the matchup. That all being said, though, after he saw the Chi-Yu in that game number 1, he was able to correctly predict that it would be making an appearance again in games 2 and games 3 and adjusted his play style accordingly. I have to eyeball the calculation a little bit there, but it looked like that Terra Water terrestrialization on Urshifu would have guaranteed the knockout even if we did see that ghost type terrestrialization. Right. So a great adaptation.
Exactly. That's one of those kind of pin situations we talk about in VGC at the high level that effectively it's a positive outcome no matter what, right? It was like we saw in game 2, Gabby, that turn where Rillaboom swapped in. Well, he either gets knocked out from the Glacial Lance or he doesn't swap the Rillaboom in, which I'm happy. I'm going to be in a positive position either way. But finally, Tatsuomi takes his first loss of the end. Kevin Hahn also taking his first loss to Top Cut in the finals.
And that's all you can ask for in a finals, right? As someone in the audience, you want it to be close, you want it to be very exciting, and you want to see just why either of these trainers could leave here as the world champion. And that's exactly what we saw from Kevin Hahn and Tatsuomi Shimanuki as well. as well.
Yeah, I think Kevin has to be so happy with these Pokemon. I think Raging Bolt picked up the trifecta of these 3 championships. I believe Raging Bolt was on all 3 of the championships that Kevin had at the international level this season. So it's fun. We can go from all over the world. Essentially, you go to Europe from your favorite Pokemon and win. Go to New Orleans with the family, pick up a title. Head over to Honolulu and become world champion. It's got to be a great feeling.
I think so. And I also love to see trainers iterate on the same team throughout the season. I know that EUIC was obviously in a different regulation, so it's not like a one-to-one comparison, but just seeing people utilize the same tools and the same Pokemon time and time again, it gives you that expertise and it helps you just rely on those, almost like a muscle memory when you're in these tough matchups and you're trying to figure out the best path forward. So picking a restricted Pokemon that you like, picking a strategy that you like for us, that's Trick Room. I think that's so important in building your skills to become a world champion.
All right, well, Anna is ready on the stage with our junior world champion, so let's get an interview. Anna, take it away.
I am here with your champion, Kevin Hahn. Kevin, game 1 didn't go so well for you, but you were able to keep it calm and collected and move on into those games 2 and 3 and come out victorious. How did you do that?
So I calmed myself down, and in the time between the matches, I thought about what my opponent would do. Now, in the World Championships, I feel like if you go with the same plan twice, it's not gonna work. So I figured they'd change up their lead to Chiyu Zamazenta. So after I saw that it was Chiyu Zamazenta and I let Calyrex Incineroar, I thought about what they would do. Now, they don't want to, so after I got Trick Room up with my Fake Out in Trick Room, I thought about it and I said, they're not gonna stay in with their Chiyu because I can easily double up to it and knock it out. They'll probably bring in the Rillaboom. So I clicked Glacial Lance and it worked.
Sure did. Great thinking. Now, I know that you've done a lot of training with some very special people, especially in your family. Tell us about your training for this event.
So I prepped a lot. I first tried to find out what my team was, and I figured that out in like 3 or 4 weeks. It was really tough, but I managed to do it. And then after that, I started preparing the matchups, which I did for the remainder. And then I worked with my coaches, Kylan Van Severin, Justin Tang, Justin Karras, and especially my brother, Chris. He's the one who helped me do this tournament the most.
And I know that he's helped you through many tournaments. You have been NEIC champion, EUIC champion, now you're world champion. What are you gonna do next?
Go for senior internationals, I guess.
Sounds like a good plan. Is there anyone you want to say hi to or thank you to that you haven't listed already?
I want to thank my Mousehole Discord friends, my school friends, and my family.
Thank you so much. Congratulations again, Kevin. Let's hear it one more time for your junior world champion. And don't go anywhere because we have lots more in store for you going into the senior division. Casters, back to you.
Thank you so much. 1 world champion crowned for the video game today. 2 more to go. Cannot wait to get started with the seniors division of our competition. Sierra Dawn, Lee Provost, what a match to be kicking off the video game.
Incredible way for us to start Championship Sunday for the video game, and it's only going to get better from here. And that is saying something after that match, which was absolutely incredible. What a show from both of our junior trainers.
100%. And of course, we have to make sure we can get our other players queued up on this stage. And while we get that ready, we have some giveaways for you. First off, we're talking about world champion Pokemon, and this Sylveon was won last year. And your opportunity to grab it in-game now, especially because this should be very good in the upcoming regulation.
Yeah, make sure you jump into your copy of Scarlet and Violet and use the code SleepTalkWorlds, and you'll be able to grab that Sylveon until the 19th of August. Great one for the upcoming regulation, like you've been saying all weekend, Sierra, after the World Championships, and a great thing for the collection all around.
Yeah, just a great Pokemon, so good stuff there. And of course, if you play both of the games, or even if you're watching, but more so play the TCG, have the opportunity to get a special illustration Pasha Runge in-game. Make sure to grab it while you can. Outburst Worlds 24.
Yeah, make sure to grab this one while you can. Beautiful artwork and a great addition for the collection once again. Now we're getting into the seniors side of things. We've had juniors, now.
Yeah.
Feel like go for senior internationals, I guess.
Sounds like a good plan. Is there anyone you want to say hi to or thank you to that you haven't listed already?
I want to thank my Mousehole Discord friends, my school friends, and my family.
Thank you so much. Congratulations again, Kevin. Let's hear it one more time for your Junior World Champion. And don't go anywhere because we have lots more in store for you going into the senior division. Casters, back to you.
Thank you so much. One world champion crowned for the video game today. 2 more to go. Cannot wait to get started with the seniors division of our competition. Sierra Dawn, Lee Provost, what a match to be kicking off the video game.
Incredible way for us to start Championship Sunday for the video game, and it's only going to get better from here. And that is saying something after that match, which was absolutely incredible. What a show from both of our junior trainers.
100%. And of course, we have to make sure we can get our other players queued up on this stage. And while we get that ready, we have some giveaways for you. First off, we're talking about world champion Pokemon, and this Sylveon was won last year. And your opportunity to grab it in-game now, especially because this should be very good in the upcoming regulation.
Yeah, make sure you jump into your copy of Scarlet and Violet and use the code Sleep Talk Worlds, and you'll be able to grab that Sylveon until the 19th of August. Great one for the upcoming regulation, like you've been saying all weekend.
Make sure y'all get this, y'all. You can get a special Sylveon from last year's championships. They're explaining it right now. You can get it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, available for download with this code right here. Make sure you get that.
Yeah, just a great Pokemon, so good stuff there.
Oh, what's up on the Porch Podcast?
You're watching, but more so play the TCG, have the opportunity to get a special illustration.
Sorry I didn't see your message. I'm busy editing videos while watching this.
Worlds 24.
Yeah, make sure
also make sure you get this, y'all. If you pay Pokemon Trading Card Game Live, make sure you get this as well. So
now we're getting
show
into
some
the
love on everything.
Side of things. We've had juniors. Now we can take an overview of the seniors bracket, see where trainers have come from that top 8 stage.
One thing that we always talk about with the junior competitors is this is the future of Pokemon, but these and where people have started off, because we'll get to really be able to dive into accomplishments and stuff in a little bit. But when you start off the regulation, like in Luke's case as a regional champion, to then start off the format strong and potentially end it off even stronger, I think that's a really, really cool thing, especially too for anyone that's been able to really dive into this. And for Ray himself, I mean, relatively newer player, so this is humongous.
Yeah, and the qualification process for both players is slightly different. You know, Ray's had to come through a different qualification system over in Japan, which is very vigorous, very difficult, and being able to qualify that way, so it's a testament in itself to be able to even be here. And then you look at Luke's side of the field. Last year in seniors, we'll be leveling up to masters next year, which is exciting. So the last chance almost to be crowned that seniors champion. So he's at the point, he's done the work now, so can he get over the line? He's got a big tough opponent in front of him, challenge ahead with Ray. But yeah, coming off the back of a regionals championship, you know, Indianapolis earlier this year, I think will help him a lot, especially because that was in Regulation G as well, which we're in now.
Especially too when you're looking at that last year before going up into the Masters division. We have players in the Masters division that were senior world champions who still play and are still, I mean, performing fantastically, taking down regional championships, going for these long run in these tournaments. So Luke already really proving the skill to, I don't know, kind of make a couple of people scared next year once he's playing at their level, then this would even just be more terrifying.
Yeah, well, I was speaking to Luke before we came on and had the pleasure to have a few words with him, and he's been saying how well he does against the Masters at his local events, how, you know, he's taking games off them already, so he's going to be a very scary prospect, especially at the Masters division, as he is leveling up next season. And it's one of those things where we do commonly see seniors come in, have a really good run, claim the championship, Championship and then level up into Masters and then have a huge impact in that circuit the next season. It's not uncommon for us to see. We've seen it time and time again. And it's really great to be at this point now where we're at the World Championships, one of the biggest stage possible for these trainers, for them to showcase their talents and us to get a little sneak peek potentially of what's to come in future years.
I've had the honor of being able to play against Luke at a local actually, and yeah, I definitely attest to the skill here. Do not get me wrong on that. But I'm really excited to have this first opportunity to really look at Ray play. And it was funny because you were talking about getting an opportunity to talk to the players, and Ray had mentioned that, like, yeah, expected Worlds to be tough, and it was. And I love that kind of humble approach to it. Like, yeah, I've worked hard, I've pushed on through, and I'm now at this spot. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear, and it's so great to get a few words with the players as well before they get into the nitty-gritty. But with that said, Anna is waiting over on stage with her players, so let's introduce them for this seniors final.
Let's meet your senior finalists. Please welcome to the stage, from the US, Luke Crow. And from Japan, Rei Yamanaka. Thank you both for joining us. We can't wait to watch you play. Just one question before we start. We've seen you play in regionals before. We know a little bit what to expect from you, Luke. What can we expect here in this match in the World Championships?
Helping Hand Draco Meteor.
Nice, very specific. Thank you, Luke. And what about you? What can we expect to see here in this match from you?
これからの試合はどんな感じになるかと思いますか？どういうようなことを見てる方からは予想すればいいでしょうか？
わからないけれど、自分自身の力を全力で出し切りたいと思います。
I have no idea what you should all expect to see, but I'm just gonna give it my all and do my very best.
That's all we can ask, Ray. Thank you so much. Let's hear one more big round of applause for our finalists. You can head to your tables. Thank you so much. We can't wait to watch you play. Casters, let's get into this match.
Love having the opportunity to hear from our players ahead of the match, and I love the varied responses coming out here. Helping Draco Meteors. All right, a little spoiler of what to come here, but Ray, it'll be especially intriguing to see whereabouts he wants to be going with his strategy for this match, because there's a couple of different ways to really approach this. This restricted he has on his end can really go a variety of ways, but you know that you're looking for heavy damage. This could be such an intense match.
Yeah, very intense. I think you nail it there, Sierra, with the Calyrex being the one option that Ray's got on his side of the field. Does have access to being able to set up, to get that power boost with the nasty plot. And if it's in the right position to do that, it's going to outrun everything on Luke's side of the field. And he's going to have his wits about him to deal with those Astral Barrages, which are going to come out heavy and picking up potential knockouts if Ray can get it set up into those situations.
I know when we've looked at this match that there is a couple of different ways the players can go ahead and approach this. So I'm very intrigued once we get into this matchup, what road they opt to go down for, because when we're looking at one end of the board, I want to wait till they got the headsets to really dive into this. There is two really big ways that you can approach this matchup, and it's going to be on the other to really kind of respond to see how well they did their homework last night. Headsets on. I think when you're looking at Luke, there's two very different ways you can go about this.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it is all about the decisions here. The leads are very important for this match, because I think if you look at Ray's side of the field, he's got that Calyrex, he's got the Amoonguss. It's a really nice option for him to kind of lead out there, and it's got the Rage Powder support to pull in any of those threatening things that could come from Luke's side of the field, like that Miraidon, for instance, and allow that nasty plot to be set up, because if you do get that, it enables the Shadow Rider Calyrex to just be that really dominant force on the side of the field, and you've got other support options there with the Incineroar that you could potentially bring. The Rillaboom is another option where you could bring that as well, but that's kind of overstating some of the options that Luke's got on his side of the field, because he does have some really interesting options. The big restricted there, the Miraidon, going to bring that electric train to the field. It's not only going to boost its attacking moves, but it's also going to benefit the fact that the Amoonguss is on the opposite side of the field. It is threatening with that spawn. As long as the electric train's out, you don't need to worry about that threat.
See, I'm looking at the fact that Luke does have these damaging output options to make sure you can try and match and out-damage Ray, because when I'm looking at this nasty plot Calyrex, something that can boost, you cannot be passive, and you do have those passive options. But I think Luke knows you cannot allow these setups. When you're giving the little hint of a helping hand Draco Meteor, I think he understands the importance of not giving any wiggle room over to Ray.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's a big important thing. I think the one thing would you look at with that Amoonguss, though, is its Terra typing.
Yeah, I mean, we should be getting an actual Nintendo Direct.
Like he's talking about, like, when you're looking at the terrestrialization on that Amoonguss.
I mean, we've had a Nintendo Direct in the last 8 Septembers, so they might even drop, like, Legends EA stuff in that. You know, I don't think we're going to get Pokemon Presents this year now. I think the best time to get one was probably the first week of August, which obviously hasn't happened. How many more battles? Between 4 to 6.
Relatively new, which I think is...
Tested really good last match. Yeah, man.
I love this, but Ray has been just playing since Scarlet and Violet.
Guys,
so
between 4 to 6 more
that
battles.
is such a big testament to the type of player that you're going to be, that jumping into this new game and new generation, that this is going to be the type of performances
There's 4 to 6 battles left, and the closing ceremony is after
know that you've only just recently come into this game, and you're already on the stage at the World Championships in a final.
Guarantee
for Luke on the other side of the field,
Ishihara just said we're going to get updates on Pokemon games. So that could be Pocket, Go, Unite, Z8,
and also
all of them.
Very recently in
just a couple of them.
In 2020.
We don't know.
Talking a little bit more about the teams. We touched on the importance of that Calyrex Shadow Rider, but looking at the other options around it, we got the double grass here, the Rillaboom and the Amoonguss. Of course, you do have to be worried of potential Armor Tail to stop the fake outs, but the Rillaboom does still have the really good utility in that grassy surge to get rid of the train of the Miraidon. And the Amoonguss, it'll be that redirection. Of course, you're not going to appreciate double up hits, but if you can keep the Calyrex Shadow Rider safe for long enough, that could be the difference.
It could be a huge difference in this match, and the thing with the grassy terrain as well is you can override that electric terrain, and it enables that spore
T with the $2
on the opposite side of the field, which is really useful.
At the
thing to
moment,
know as well is that Incineroar, it
I
does
feel
have
like
that taunt and the covered cloak, so it's able to.
I don't know. I feel like he doesn't know anything at the moment. I feel like he's literally just waiting. I don't know if that's because his source is gone or there just generally isn't anything to say.
Yet again, the
right now, I don't think
championship
he has, like,
dream,
anything
starting it off, starting that Pokemon journey, very reminiscent of that treasure hunt that you do at the beginning of the story, and what's going to be your treasure. Well, he definitely is about to add maybe something new to that collection, a World Championship trophy. So I'm so excited to see how that will turn out.
Because he's always on about, like, how the
stars,
like, he's saying, like, we're going to get the stars this year.
Kicking the season off strong,
and all this
and potentially ending it off even stronger. Miraidon restricted of choice. And when we look at the supportive options, Grimmsnarl is a nice popular one to be pairing with it, with these screens. But the ND is something that we haven't necessarily seen the most of, but definitely offering a lot in this match.
Yeah, especially with that normal Terra typing that it's got there, and a little bit different maybe than the
shiny
that we've seen in the past. Its common item is that
I hope so. They've obviously done Red Rescue Team, so
and that also offers up the option to go for the Protect, which allows you to maybe reposition some of the supporting Pokemon and allow it to be enabled a bit further. Not go down and be in that position where you have to switch it out so quickly.
This is such an impressive statistic. Undefeated all the way to the final.
Like,
now
a few battles away
going to
from
be
the
the most important match of all. You can go that say it one more time. Family in the crowd supporting.
Oh yeah, no.
Nice dirty out, but this is going to be so exciting. I cannot wait. Either side of the table, a very worthy champion.
We just want
exactly that. And both players, like I've already mentioned, have done incredibly well to just get to this point. But I don't think that's
depends on
these players. One more thing to do. Got to take one step further and claim that championship for themselves. Both players have the opportunity to do. We've kind of covered and touched upon some of the things that these players are trying to go for in these matches.
They will, but I think it's a lot more hype.
Pokemon, I think, for both players. The Urshifu could be really important for Luke. Could also be more important on Ray's side of the field because
there's like a small trailer on the App Store
on Luke's side. How excited he is about that Pokemon in general. How much it feels like it's going to be something that he can utilize. Sit in front of that Calyrex, take that terrestrialization, not really worry about those Astral Barrages. So then you're looking at some something
dude.
like
Yeah, I can see
Urshifu
that.
as a way to remove that as quick as possible.
Luke's team is full of threats, though. Focus too close in onto the Entei, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden
I
this
think so.
Miraidon is about to Electro Drift in your face, or Luke's
I'd much
own
rather,
Urshifu
like,
to
be in
fire
the-
back. So this
I'd
is
much
going to
rather,
be
like,
so
watch
intense to
people see
see
it
what
now,
these trainers
near
want to
them,
lead
instead
with,
of, like,
because
just going
that's
on
going to be
YouTube and just
the
seeing
biggest
my
road for what they have to go down heading down this
well,
championship
sport,
series. It is time
Jeremy,
to
how you
start
doing?
getting underway with the first
we had
match
other
here
matches last
in our
5 to 7
senior
minutes before
world
we went
champions
to
match.
Yeah, obviously they have to get
Cannot
everything ready and
wait
stuff.
to see how this is going to be going down. The leads. We're going to see Miraidon.
The boys have waited so long for this
Choreograph's going to be the partner
Setting me.
opposing.
The last one
Calyrex
standing,
Urshifu,
last
the
one surviving.
crowd
Right, battle
making
number
the
4,
noise.
chat.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, it's a really
Number 4.
aggressive start here from Luke, going with that Miraidon straight
get some
out of
info.
the gate.
Yeah,
It's
we're
gonna
getting
pressure
some
both
sort
that
of Pokemon.
Calyrex with this electric strain being set up, and more importantly, that Urshifu on Ray's side. But the Urshifu on Ray's side, not really immediately pressured because it is going to be able to get an attack off. It does have that focus sash. As it's held out, you're going to be able to take one attack and maybe get some really pivotal damage onto something like that Paragraph. You can't say the same for the Calyrex though. That has the Astral
there
Barrage,
could
but
be,
Paragraph
including
on Luke's
this,
side, going to be immune to that.
well, after
Not really
this
gonna
one, they could be able
really
to
threatened by that
5 more
psychic
battles.
either. So is it in a position where it can get a nasty pot off? It is pretty risky. Can you take an attack from this Miraidon?
So we're
We're
not
going
going to
with
test it
Luke
out.
or
That
Ray.
will be
I'm
the
gonna
first
say-
step.
I'm
Make
gonna
sure
back
you can
Luke.
scout out what
Back
this
in
run
Luke.
on the opposing end does.
Back
As
in Luke.
Urshifu also detecting. Luke had spoken about how there's going to be these
Playing
helping
it
head
safe,
Draco Meteors
playing it
with the
safe,
Volt
see what
Switch,
they
an
wanna
attempt to reposition. You'll have
Bolts.
another opportunity on that next turn. Foul play. It would be the double up. Try and get as
Lauren,
much
how you
damage
doing?
starting off.
Yeah, there's a bit risky there because you could maybe see the Paragraph go for a Trick Room if you're expecting to
Do I
get
think
that
we get
Volt
any
Switch off with the
illusions?
Miraidon.
I'd
But not
love
looking
a
into
new
that, just
illusions,
wanting
yeah.
to chase after that Calyrex as soon as possible. The nice thing now is
Let's
that
hope Luke
Ray
gets
does
that,
have an idea of
30.
what that
Oh, no, they've only
Miraidon's
got
locked
best
into.
of
It is
3
choice
here.
locked, so it has to lock in
We've
again.
got,
This
this
turn
is the
with
senior
Volt Switch.
division,
Does he
we've got
go
the
for that? Maybe
But
that's
this is
something
the
that Ray
best
can
of
take
2 and then
advantage
the
of.
master division.
I think that's the best
So
move
he
to
could
be
finish
locked into,
11-0.
since you would be able to pivot out, but you will be taking some damage before. And a lot into that Miraidon, bringing it down
damage
just
is this
below
doing?
half. Volt Switch, a lot back into
damage.
the Urshifu into response. It does have
Volt
the focus sash, so we'll be holding off and will have an opportunity to attack. It's either this Paragraph or
About Luke,
whatever
though,
is
because he's
Luke's
my
going to be
favourite,
bringing in.
It'll be interesting to see
nine, give
what
him
the
my
adjustment
times
is
over,
to
crashing
bring
in a sec.
in from
I'm gonna say
Luke's side of the
surprise
field.
paint,
Now
but
that both targets on Ray's side
Dragon
have
for
attacked,
sure.
and it
Your
is
star
that Grim
predictions?
Snow.
I've
And
said
that's
Gen
going to be
6
taking the
stars.
close combat a
but I
little
wouldn't
bit
be
better,
surprised
and the
if it's,
defense, that's not going to matter. We don't care about the
I
drops.
wouldn't
You're
be
on
surprised
1
if it's
HP,
like-
you're on borrowed time, so that psychic noise is going to drop the Urshifu
New
once and for
Evolution
all on
Dragon
this
type.
turn.
I
Now,
love
if
a new
it does
Evolution
have that
Dragon type, so-
Entei in the back, this is a huge move for him. Yes, he's taken a bit of damage from the Astral Barrage,
First one
but
down. Like I
there's
said, the
not
battles go
been
quick.
that
The battles go
great
quick. It's
neighbours
literally the
break.
time.
Nothing's been knocked out. You've still got all your Pokemon, and you've
has to be
removed
a
that
Dragon
big
Meteor
threat to the
Evolution.
Entei.
I think it'd be very-
later on and utilize that terrestrialization. You've got a
It'd be
nice
cool,
position as
because
well.
obviously
with
we got
Grim
still
Snow
got
on
over
the
10
field.
years ago
It is
in
going to be
this
able
region.
to threaten with
So
those
it'd be
Thunder
nice if
Waves,
by
or
over 10
even
years
better,
later
get
we
some
go
screen
back to that
support
region
set up. That
again.
light screen, especially supported by the light clay, means you're going to have an extended period of time with that
They dropped the
protection on
channel
your side
for
of the field,
LGA,
taking
video.
those Astral Barrages or even Psychics coming out from the Calyrex
I think
that
they've
are
dropped
threatening right
everything.
now.
And this is why what
I don't know why they would
Ray
just
has
randomly
in the
shadow
back
drop
is going to be
something
so
now.
important, because this Calyrex, you need to make sure it stays safe. And when this Grimmsnarl is threatening over on the opposing end with these Thunder Waves, if that all of a sudden targets into that Calyrex,
There'd be no reason.
that is going to be
maybe
neutralized
we
for the
get
rest
started
of the
and
matchup. Going to be slower and a potential to not even attack. So I love the Amoonguss joining the field.
Yeah, it's a great play here from Ray. He's got that whole
Daniel with a
position set up now where he has
$20
access
super
to
chat.
that rage
Keeping
fighter.
that
Nothing's
train
really too
alive.
threatened.
Thank you very, very much, Daniel. I
Gonna
really
do
appreciate
super
it, man.
effective damage, but
Let's
not
get
enough
some
to
orange
pick up
blue hearts in the
knockout
chat for
from
Daniel.
Amoonguss. So
Coming
there's
through
no
with the 20
immediate
bomb.
reason for you to have to lock in with
Thank
a
you very, very much,
terrestrialization here
man. I
with
really,
Amoonguss,
really appreciate
unlike
it.
if the Entei was out on the opposite side of the field.
you
Again,
watch
the
Trade
Grimmsnarl
without
is
streamers.
threatening with
Yeah,
the
you
foul
just
play
watch
as
the,
well, so you've got that
just go to
really
Pokemon.
great way of just
If you don't watch-
protecting
if you don't wanna watch
perfectly
it with
that
us, you
Calyrex
just
and
watch it on
opening
the,
the door for you to get a nasty plot off in this
Very
position.
recent.
The one thing that I'd be
Thank you so
worried
much for the
about
20
with
though, Daniel. I
Nasty
really
Plot on
appreciate
this
that,
turn
man.
is
Thank you
that
very, very
we
much.
do want to be going for trick
Show him
room.
some huge love in the chat.
Sometimes dangerous to go for a trick room against Amoonguss, but since we do have that electric terrain, the only thing he'll really be able to do is some damage or just
Make sure to leave a like as well, guys, if
keeping
you're
this
brand new.
Calyrex safe. This is going to be
If you're just popping by for a
the
sec,
Terra Fairy
we here?
For a little Amoongus, a
crazy
little heart
o'clock.
on top. So cute out here
thank you
and
for
trying
streaming
to
this.
have a little
Hey,
bit
no
more
worries, man.
longevity
Thank you
in
for being
this
here.
rage
Thank you for the
powder.
generosity.
Move of
I
choice.
really
Keep the Calyrex safe.
That's a really smart
what do you think
terastallization.
the
I was
story
saying there's
of
no
Mortal
need
Kombat
for
is?
it, but there is a need if you want to keep that Amoongus around a lot longer,
I
taking
hope we
away
get
that
some
psychic
Zygon.
weakness,
I think
and also
he deserves some.
reducing
I want to know
damage
why
from
he's
far
ended up in
plane.
a
There
Lola.
is the nasty plot.
Tempest
Plus 2
gave him
special
that.
attack. This Calyrex is
Charlotte
starting
was
to get set up.
Plotting on the
How many matches
demise and the
left?
long
After this
damage on the
one,
horizon.
could be
Amoongus
3.
just a little bit of damage in from
Depends,
that
if
psychic
they go
noise,
to
but
the
this
side.
Calyrex is about to dish out a
Dragonic, how
world
you
of
doing?
hurt.
Welcome to the
Reminder, that Fergap is
How'd
going
I
to be
go on
fine
Belden
up against
community
it, but you'll be
yesterday?
doing
Oh,
a lot
dude,
into
I
that
don't know what
Rexar
happened. I think my game
KOs
broke. I got
and
one shiny
anything
in 2
that's
hours.
swapping in, and you do have
I
another move as
did
well.
2
You
hours
can't
and
just
I
be
was like,
firing off with psychics as well.
There's something happening and
That's
I'm
the
not
thing. You
getting
can't
shot.
just continue.
Sarah
going
with
for
the
them
10.
now.
It's
I
only
think
10
we
p.m.
need
here
to
after
really
Lucky.
just
Thanks
do
for being
all
so
this.
dedicated.
Can't
It's
allow this
$10
Calyrex
for
to
caffeine.
freely
Sarah,
fire off these
thank you so much.
barrages, and this
Really
Amoongus in a
appreciate
great
the
position where
generosity.
we've already
Keeping the
mentioned
train
the psychic
alive
noise
in the
not
chat,
gonna
which
do
has been
too much,
going
and
since the start of the
even if
stream,
we
by
do
the
see
way.
a Thunder Wave,
Thank you
the
so
Amoongus
much
not
for the
really
10, Sarah.
worried
Daniel
about
with the
that so
20.
slow anyway.
Nabil, thank
Yeah,
you
the
again.
Amoongus,
for
that's
the
just
50 gift
soaking
and
up this
fun.
paralysis from the
Thank you so
Calyrex
much,
Shadow
guys.
Rider as
Really,
another
really
after
appreciate it.
barrage
Thank you.
plus 2 boosted. The Grimstone
Yeah, I don't know. My
already
sleep
taking
schedule.
some damage. So coming on
I've
out,
got,
eliminating it.
got a
You do
sort of
not have to worry about the Thunder Waves from
Getting
here
under
on
elements.
out.
No, I think the
And
best I got was
Fergara,
like
sure,
13,
it's not taking any
14,
damage, but this Calyrex now is at a
It was an unlucky
+3
community
and
day.
constantly
You know,
threaten the
sometimes
partner
you gotta take
Pokemon.
the
So
L's.
perfect time
It
for
was
the
an
trick
L
room
community day,
to
which
make
is a
sure
shame
that horse
because
is
it was a
moving
community day
last.
that I really
Yeah,
wanted to get like a
the trick
decent
room being
shiny
set
gold.
up is
Sometimes
really
it don't
the
happen.
one where
Sometimes it
a
don't
nice thing for the Amoongus, right? Because it's so slow and it could almost threaten you
If
with
we get
those
Dragon
scores,
Evolution,
but
what do you think
because
it
the
would
electric
look
drain's
like?
still active on the
I
field,
don't know, I
that's
can
not
imagine
a
it being
thing
like
that you
blue,
can
maybe with some
utilize now.
scales.
The Entei coming onto
Entei
the
looks
field
so
for
good in
Luke's going to be
Scotland, by the
very
way.
threatening to this Amoongus,
His
especially
model's
the
so
double
good.
up from that Fergara.
What's Russian in
And
the
both
UK?
these
Must be
Pokemon
different
will
to
move
destroy
first. The
for
big risk here is if Raid decides to go for a Rage Powder, there is a
that's
chance
absolutely
of
fine,
the
yeah,
fully paralysis from that Thunder Wave.
Ceremonies
So if
after
you
battle.
can't get the Rage Powder off, then your Calyrex is sitting a little
do you
bit
think
open,
Pokemon should
especially
be
with a
more lost or
rifle
anything?
boosted Entei.
Yeah, I
Can
always
go
like it. I
for
mean,
that
I like how they always
Terastallization
drop
into
at
the
least
normal
strength
type now and
about
have that
reaching
immunity
in
from
the
those
game.
really threatening Astral
They could keep
Barrages.
the Dunsparce.
And that is not,
going, it was a
there's
mega
no way around that risk with the Amoongus. With the paralysis, you go for it, and it's not going to do anything. It cannot keep the partner Calyrex safe on this turn. But maybe the punish won't be there. Entei, the protect for that first turn.
With still battles. The ending ceremony is the last thing.
Unfortunate, but I mean, you get
If
away
there's still
with it
battles
slightly
going,
there because of the Entei. Just going for that protect. The Psychic Noise coming out into the Amoongus. Going to be able to take that a little bit better.
I got
But
zero
that's the
shiny
sort
ones
of
from
risk
the
that
day
you're
to
taking
play.
at this
I
point. The
thought they
Calyrex going for the
mentioned
protect
it
there.
in the
Cannot
didn't
go
play,
for it
oh,
again.
mate,
He's
it's
gonna
such a good
hope if he
community
goes
to
the
have
same
been a
play
part
this
of.
time around.
Eldon's a
The
solid
Entei doesn't go for that Terastallization, and also that
It won't matter.
paralyzed.
It really
It was a no harm, no foul on the turn. I think it was just a double protect to try and get through
I
that
would
first turn of trick
specialize in
room.
psychic
But a real
types.
testament of
Especially
how
normal
this can
time for the
really
United
just go
States.
downhill from here on out. The Calyrex had to protect it, and if Luke did want to go on the offensive, that could have been absolutely massive. So you know from Murray, that must
I
be
need
a
Poplio,
little
Pokemon
nerve-wracking from here on out, because you've seen the potential for where this can go wrong.
Yeah, and I think if you've got
Hoping
one,
for
you
new
think that's it out the way now. So
I mean,
hopefully
we
Lucas
can
can
hope.
get
We
through
can
the
hope
rest
and
of this
pray.
game and provide a little bit extra support. And you will see the electric
Animal
train
battles
has
until
gone
reveal.
off the field now, but we're not
As little
keeping
as
the
3,
Amoongus
as many
on
as
the
5.
field. We're going to let it just go back, use that regenerator ability now that the noise
How long will
can
that
run
take, you
off
think? I
and
mean, the battles
Raging
only really
Ball
last
into
like
the
5
field.
It's going to be
not long.
terastallization for Luke here in
It's the
game
time between the
1,
battles.
and that Entei that we talked about,
Already
the
got Melvin,
importance
so
of
not
it.
long.
Here's the
Brody,
terastallization
how you doing?
into the normal type. So the
When did you
Calyrex with these
reveal the end?
+3
We're getting some
special
sort of
attack.
news, yeah.
If it
Ishihara
wants to keep
in
firing
the
off
opening
after
ceremony
barrages,
said that
it's
we're
not
gonna
going
get
to do
updates on Pokemon
anything.
games during
And the
the
helping hand,
so
we are
we are
looking to go
definitely getting
on the
some.
offensive. impressive.
Helping
Can it be the
hand.
MVP? Not just defensive terrestrialization, but offensive as well. Extreme
trying to
speed
Oko
into
that
the
E-speed.
Raging Bolt. I mean, a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the big thing is the Psychic here into that Entire.
enough.
Is it enough at +3? It is enough. Taking down that huge important Pokemon for Luke.
It is
That
enough.
one-hit KO. You needed this damage. You
Looks
needed
like
to stick around, but this
Ray
Calyrex
is winning
now
the-
another
winning the
boost,
first
but
battle.
I think it's too late. No amount of slowing down
Special attack, Rose.
from
Yeah, I don't
Luke.
see
You
how
do
he
have
uses
this Miraidon, but
not
this
see how he
Calyrex
uses it.
hasn't been touched. It's sitting
on
at this
Eternal Flow, eh?
+4, and sure,
think we'll get a
maybe
new
it's in this
Pikachu.
trick room,
What
but
do you mean a new Pikachu?
Luke has not made a scratch on it so far.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it is
They announced Gen 5 tonight, then
it's
it's bloody worth staying on. I'll tell you
Maybe
that.
not, depends how
Brody with the
Shadow Rider has
EBT
been trained,
membership.
so
Thanks
it's
so
at
much,
least going to be
Brody.
able to
I
fire on
appreciate
one
it very
Astro Barrage.
much.
The Miraidon in a pin
Keeping the
position
train
as well.
going.
It's
It's
slow.
a
It's
trade
gonna
emotes
have
in the
to
chat,
take an
guys.
Astro
The
Barrage.
train's
Can
been
it take a
going
+4?
non-stop since the
Probably
season
not.
started. I really appreciate it.
the psychic noise into the Raging Bolt, not even going for it. If you're
I don't know. I'm assuming they'll get
World
like new
Championships,
forms.
that Calyrex will be all
We're
the
getting the
right
ZA trailer,
stats. Dragon Ball
possible.
into the Miraidon.
It's not
Super
confirmed, but I think
effective.
it's
Super
relatively
critical hit. It will drop. And now the
I'll be streaming the reveal, yes.
last
I'll definitely stream
Pokemon standing. And he's
That was
not
a
going to be
crit,
able to get
wasn't
it done.
No, and the trickery is still in effect, so the Calyrex, the last thing to actually attack this turn, the Miraidon not got enough in the tank to be able to take that Raging Ball attack. Frigoraph against the 3
assume he's
Pokemon
just
now
gonna concede
on Ray's
because
side of the
obviously
field,
it's-
and it probably feels a little bit too far for him to make a comeback in this one. Ray taking it with quite dominating fashion in this first game.
Megas and
100%. We talked about the importance of this Calyrex Shadow Rider and not allowing it to get set up. This is going to be great to know the amount of damage that you'll do from here on out with that foul play, but of course not dropping it. Still plenty in the tank.
No, not on the Switch.
Good,
no,
but
I doubt it.
second Raging Bolt, that is the self-KO.
5.
Self-worth it, I think, taking it down and then closed up with this Calyrex. It's been so phenomenal through this first game and
Here we
closing
go.
it out
Taking
for
the
Ray
first
here as
battle,
he
Ray.
takes an
It's obviously if Ray
early
wins the
lead
next
in
one,
this
that's
set.
the senior division.
What a match as well. Even in
Imagine
that
if they
trick
shadow drop
room,
Pokemon
even
Red, Blue,
in
Yellow,
those
Gold,
twisted
Silver,
dimensions,
so, later on.
great supportive options. And there is no way that Luke could get
There's a
to
safe
that
thing
Calyrex
for
Shadow
Pokemon, I
Rider
guess.
in the first place.
Yeah,
so now
I
you
mean,
really
I
have
feel
to
like-
reevaluate. A couple of maybe passive
I always
options
feel like
being
there's more
bought.
eyes on a Pokemon
And yes, you got the paralysis on the Moongus.
I
Yes, you
always
try
think
and
that
set up.
Pokemon
You have
Presents,
this
you got,
Frigoraph
like,
to stop any priority, get the
thousands
trick
and
room.
thousands and
But at the same time, we're still
People
looking at a
obviously-
game
thousands
of
of people
you need to
watching,
outdamage your opponent at some
worlds,
points, and we
I don't know, I
really
feel like
weren't seeing
Presents-
that there.
And we got into the
I
latter
think
stages
a
of
lot
that
of,
game,
like,
and you
Pokemon
quite
fans
rightly
aren't really
pointed
bothered
out,
about
Calyrex
wins.
is still not taking any
They just
damage.
want to know about, like,
Just
the
testament to how useful that Amoongus is. Yes, it had that one turn
I'll
where
take
it was fully
Pokemon Gale and
paralyzed,
Darkness remake.
but
I'd be
kind of
down for it. I'd
unfortunate
be
that
down
he
for
got
it.
around that because the entire
Prediction
also
stars and release date for
was
ZA.
protecting that
Release
turn
date, I'm
just
going to
to
say
kind of get through
like
those
July,
tricky
August
turns.
starters.
So
I'm going to say
really
Gen 6.
fortunate that nothing really came of
Ceremonies
it,
after
because
the
that could have
battles,
been quite punishing if you'd seen a Sacred Fire and maybe a Psychic Noise.
They will win next fight as well, so
That
sorry
turn
for
to
next
remove
fight.
it a little bit
No, we
earlier on
have
in
the
this
Master
match.
Division.
And the Entei, when you're looking at
So
this
we have
Pokemon that
Junior,
could be dealing
Senior,
so
Master
much
Division. We've
damage,
already had the
not
Junior.
really
This
the
is the
opportunity
Senior.
to do
So if
much
Ray
once
wins
it
this next
finally
one,
did
the
hit the
Senior
field. It fired off one extreme speed, the
just got
Raging
here, is
Bolt
there
being
for
brought
sure
into the
gonna be an
battle is not going to be
announcement, or are we
felt by
just
that.
hoping?
And then, sure, the
Ishihara said there's gonna be
capitalization
updates on
seems
Pokemon
great,
games.
but being able to just
So
go for
that
these
could
single
include
target
Legends
attacks
ZA.
at that point from this
We're gonna
Calyrex
get some
Shadow
sort of
Rider,
updates anyway.
that
but
immunity doesn't matter anymore. It still
Or they
has
just
these other
announce it, presents
attacking
in
ways.
October.
So Luke, it's going to
If-
be
if they
let's
just
be careful
announced
in
an
this next
announcement,
match, and I'm
I'd be
expecting
pretty
something
pissed.
maybe a little bit more
To be
aggressive
like,
coming out.
really
Yeah, I
just wait
think
for an
the one thing
announcement
is
for an
to go for the Terastallization, maybe you
Well,
can
I'm
get
hoping they
that
drop
NTI
something.
out a bit earlier, because if you can get it out a bit earlier and prevent the
Wonder if Legends
Calyrex
ZA will
from
go deep
really
into
setting
walking away
up
Raging Bolt
that,
down in five.
the nasty
I
plot,
hope not. I hope there's no, like,
half the
paradox
battle,
showing.
right? Because it's +2. Even with those psychics, it's going to be hitting very hard, even
But
if you
Twist
go for
announced
that normal
Gen 10 and Gold and
Terastallization.
Silver
So you've got to try and put the pressure on early on, maybe utilizing something
you
like
say
your
2 hours
immersion
to the
field. It's
ceremony?
very difficult to kind of weave into
probably
what
like-
you bring for Luke, I think, into
I
this
don't know,
match.
there's
But it would be very useful,
potentially
especially if you
as
do
little as
see
3 more battles.
maybe that Calyrex go
Battles take,
for
like,
the
5
nasty
minutes.
plot, and
I
you
don't
need
know.
that additional bit of damage to
It
kind of
depends
hit it
how
to
long
knock
the
it
battle-
out,
depends
because you've got
how
that
many battles
security
there
of the
are
focus
honestly.
sash here, which can be quite
Because
useful
with every
in those
new battle,
situations.
obviously, they've
Outside
got
of that,
to
you've
reset it
got to
all
make
and
sure that
everything
you
like
have that electric train up
Dreamweaver, how you doing,
Mungus
Bob?
is going to be something that Ray is really concentrating on, leaning on to help support that Calyrex. And the big thing is,
We
here,
shall see,
do
we shall see. I
maybe
mean, they have
a
to
little
do
bit of a change
the,
up from our trainers. Do we maybe
the
see
trophy
the
as well, but the
Rillaboom
trophy
come out
parade
this
literally
time
lasts
around from Ray's side of the field? Because that
how many
would
more
be the
battles?
thing that allows
3
Animus
to
a little
5.
bit more freedom to pressure
Are they
things
leveled
on the
by
other side of the
ages,
field,
like Masters
and not
and
be
Swords?
the
Yeah, I think
only
so.
thing that can just say, I'm just going
Is
to
there a
redirect
guarantee
and
we're
maybe
getting
protect
CNS?
you.
There's no guarantee.
It will
Ishihara
also
just said we
push
get
off that
Pokemon
trick
game
room
mode.
mode. So I think
So
that
hopefully
Ray
he's
did a
referring to
fantastic
Legends
job
ZA.
of
We're
going
gonna
to
get
that
some
trick
sort of
room
Pokemon
mode. I mean,
news.
you're
I think
taking
we're
the
definitely
KOs
gonna get
and you won the
Pocket
game
news, and then
in.
I think
But
I'm
that
hoping
extra
we'll
security
get
could
Legends
be that
ZA.
difference between world champion or not. It's going to be
They
on
have
Luke to
confirmed
respond
we
though,
are
and I'm hoping
getting
to see a little little bit more aggression here. Don't let Ray have all the fun here as we hop right back into the match. Game number 2, Frigoraph Maridon on the opposing end. It will be the Amoonguss to support the Calyrex Shadow Rider.
Yeah, the electric chain coming out. We've already talked about it. It is going to give you that alleviation against the spore threat from the Amoonguss, but it is still a threat at the end of the day because it is going to be able to redirect. It frees up the Calyrex to go for that nasty toss here. The Frigoraph obviously gets the psychic boost in this this
so
situation,
if
the
Ray
defense
wins
boost
this,
isn't really going
then
to be
he
too
wins it.
useful, and you've got to try and weave some way about getting the
My
Mungus
favorite
off the field
Pokemon
as
game,
soon as
Hoggle.
possible, and going for that foul play, which is doing good damage into that Calyrex. If you can get maybe
Well,
some
just-
sort of damage
it's
off
just about
early
the
on Luke's side of the field, onto that Calyrex, it's half the battle.
Yeah,
If you do think that there is the
personally,
possibility
yeah,
that a Rillaboom
that's
switch
kinda
is
easy.
great,
Hands again.
and bringing the Entei out a lot earlier in the
let's go
match
big
will be able to
3D.
pressure on this next turn as
There's not
when
a
you're
lot to
staring
do
down
once
a
you beat
choice
the
lot
game,
Pokemon on the
unless you like
opposing
the
end. I'm
shiny
not
stuff.
necessarily too surprised to see Protect coming out
Hi,
from
Dan
both
Anthony, welcome to the
Pokemon
stream.
on Ray's
What
side
happens
of the
in case we're
field.
one tie?
The Psychic
Goes
Noise,
to a
null and
game
void,
decider.
and now
That's why it's a
how
maximum
will
of
Ray
5
react
battles. So if
to the
this goes
Entei?
into a decider,
Yeah, and it's a
then
nice
obviously
patient
the
play here
next
from Ray.
kind of set
Again,
goes
just
into
probably
a
wanted to
decider as well.
scout
That's
out
next
what that Miraidon locked into, and then
Whereas
it's
if Ray wins
next
this, it's
turn
not going to
going
decide.
in
It's just
after
best
that
of two. It's
decision
first
being
of
made.
two.
But Luke making a really
So
nice
obviously
play
Ray's
here,
already
not
won
looking
it.
into the
So if he
full
wins it,
switch,
then that's
because
the end of
knowing
the
maybe the Protect is coming out from both these Pokemon, hard switching into the Entei, and now it's in a position where it is going to be able
My
to
favorite Gen
have
6
that
Pokemon,
pure immunity from the Astral Barrage because of the normal typing, and then start to pressure that Amoonguss. It has just protected.
Greninja?
Now, if you are Ray, do you
Gen
have
6
something in the back that you could switch in from the Amoonguss? And
I
if
bet
you
it's
are
easy
going
to
down that
use
route, it
now.
does
I'm doing
leave the
alright, I'm doing
Calyrex
too
a
bad.
little bit vulnerable in that
Ceremonies after the
situation,
battles,
where
guys.
if a foul play comes out and you don't have that Rage Powder
It's
support,
open the,
you're going to be taking
goose
heavy
goes.
damage.
Yeah,
I'm
Ray
certain there'll
definitely
be
has a
some
couple
really
of
characters
Pokemon
that
that
mentioned
would be able to take a
There was
Sacred
some really
Fire
good
better,
stuff
but
in
no
Arceus.
swap and Helping Hand. This
I do, Anthony, good to see
Entei,
you.
this could be a lot of damage, and we'll be
Go
going
for
straight
Helping
into the
Hand.
Amoonguss. There's no terrestrialization. We'll be
Go for
taking the
Rage
full
Powder.
force of this
I
hit.
assume he's gonna go for the
Calyrex
East
wants to make sure once we get past this turn, it'll have that +2 to the special
Go for the
defense to really
nasty
be able to
block.
hit on that go button. As Sacred Fire will connect, and Amoonguss will go
this is
down.
quite-
Calyrex
go for the
Rider
Sacred
losing
Fire.
its partner.
Yeah, and that's a
Big
big turn
kill.
here for Luke, removing that key support option
One
here
hit KO.
from Ray's side of the field. But the thing is, it's done its job almost. It's
Anyone
allowed that
Pokemon
Calyrex
who are hoping to
to
make
at
it
least
specifically?
get a nasty plot of now sitting on +2
I
special
kinda
attack
just
to be
hope
able
all
to
Pokemon haven't done
threaten
the
Luke's
switch
side of the field. But there is
I hope that,
terrestrialization
well, we know Burfro's
active
in the
on
game,
both sides of the field.
but I
Now,
hope
one
that the
Pokemon
Elemental
that you would say
is in
from
the game.
Ray's end is
And
perfect
also,
against
I
that
hope that
Entei
Watch
is
Dogs
the
can
Urshifu is going to come in, and it is going to threaten with those surging strikes
long as
to
they
do
have an
super
awesome
effective damage. Even if it terrestrializes, you can just lock in with the
It's a good
close
start
combat there.
for
And you've got
Luke.
the Unseen Fist ability, so
Calyrex is
you
a
don't even
plus,
need to worry about the protect. You
Carmine?
can
No,
remove that
Nasty Blood,
Pokemon
isn't it?
quite happily.
See
And when
what damage
Entei is the attacking threat on this turn, and well, slower than this Calyrex Shadow Rider, I mean, the Calyrex can just start
Specifically
firing
Pokemon,
off attacks, and the Farigiraf,
Be ready. Has he
I
upped
mean,
our
we saw
line
how
on
much the
Switch
foul
yet?
play
Yeah,
did,
the
but at
only
the same
games-
time, it's
the only
not really
Pokemon that haven't on
threatening
Switch are the
too
monkeys,
fast
Burfrow,
into this
and,
Urshifu, especially since it does have this Focus Sash.
Yeah, and the one thing you would say is that Ray does have
Burfrow,
access
we
to
already know is gonna be
terrestrialization, not
legendary,
using
so
on
it's
the
the elemental
Amoonguss here,
monkeys
could go for it onto the
and
Calyrex and get rid of that foul play threat.
Instead,
You can get them in Pokemon
it's going
Home,
to be
you
the
just can't
stellar
put them in.
terrestrialization onto this Urshifu. We're not worried about defensive of all. We are making sure the damage
Stellar
output we
terrestrialization.
have is what we need. Not the only terrestrialization on this turn, though. Luke, this is time to make sure
That's
your
when
Pokemon
Alabama's
can
up
make
there.
it on through. The Dark type for the Farigiraf.
Yeah, it's going to boost that foul play even further, but it is going to be weak
They've done
now to
battles
that
as well,
close
man.
combat.
You've got to appreciate the
as
fact
Ray
that
kind of
they've battled a lot of
scouted
people
that
to
out
get
and maybe
here.
covered that slot.
I know we all wanna
Then the
see news and
Calyrex
stuff,
might
but
be in
you've
a
got to
little bit
appreciate
of
the
trouble.
fact that
Extreme
they've
speed
done
coming out
this to
into that
get
Urshifu.
That's going to be breaking the
It's not
sash, but the importance of the terrestrialization. Sure, you can be hit
Oh,
by
that is a
but not by the psychic.
huge
No damage in.
terrestrialization.
But the surging strikes firing off. But how well will the
That's a
Farigiraf
huge
take it? Because it's going to be able to hold on and start firing off and attack back.
It does survive. Is it going to lock in with that foul play into the Calyrex, taking that
gonna-
immunity
yeah, it's not
to
gonna
the
kill.
Psychic? Here's the foul play. It's into
Think
the Calyrex.
Luke might be
And will
taking
it be
this
enough?
one.
Of course it'll be enough.
I think
Huge
Luke's taking this
knockout for
one.
Luke to take a step further in clawing back this match.
This Calyrex Shadow Rider that was so problematic in the first game
Mega-
of the
Mega
set is
Elemental
now
will be
gone. And 2 Pokemon remaining
That was a
for
huge
Ray. The
read from
adjustment,
the
the
absolute
Rillaboom, I mean, on out. But Luke in
Read that
so
like
much more of a
crazy.
commanding position the last time around, thanks to this aggression and the Farigiraf that
It looks
we
like
talked
this will
about
go
how
to the
little
side.
damage you
They
can do.
usually
And
do. They usually
prove
do
us
go to the
wrong. Huge terrestrialization.
Yes, so surprising and a really great one because you do expect it
one more
onto that
series,
Entei. You think,
series.
okay,
Looks
get
like
the immunity
like it's gonna
from
go
that
into a
Astral
backstage
Barrage,
stage.
but no, Luke pulling the Master Stroke there and really catching
the
Ray
end
off guard. Still got a number of Pokemon he can utilize. the Brimstone going to enter the field and really give a little bit more alleviation, because there is that threat now from that Stellar Terrestrialized Urshifu on Ray's side.
But we saw the elemental.
The surging strikes, though, less damage because we've already used up the boost from that one, as Rillaboom is just going to be dealing that last little amount of damage into the Farigiraf to finally drop it down. This point, it has done what it needs to do, and Luke can really bring something out onto the field to support this Grimmsnarl, which in this case can also try and make sure you outspeed and start going for these Thunder Waves.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the Thunder Wave going to be really useful here. The screens, you've got to reflect if you need to, but the big important Pokemon that you want to bring out onto the field right now is going to be that Miraidon, overwriting the terrain, winning that terrain battle, and now you are instantly pressuring that Urshifu. The Rillaboom can resist, and it does have the Assault Vest, so it will be able to take those attacks a little bit better, but not considering it. Locked in cancellation, tied up. We are going to a game 3.
What a change of pace coming out from Luke in this match. Outpaced in the first,
this game
and
3,
really
and then
pressing on
after
the
that we've
pedal.
got the Master
And
Division,
from the get-go, being able to be in such a better position with this Entei, and then all of a sudden having this backup damage threat of this Farigiraf was absolutely fantastic. And being able to catch off on that turn, the survival past that Psychic, thanks to that immunity, and fire off with a boosted foul play was absolutely everything.
Yeah, the Sacred Fire here, as you're seeing, getting rid of that Immungus like early on in this match was really key. You thought things didn't look too good though. When the Urshifu came in, it went for that Stellar Terrestrialization, and it was really threatening that Entei. But the surprise there, the support Pokemon all the way through,
it depends, like,
things down.
we've got one more battle in the
to
senior, and then we've got Masters, and
getting rid, surprise KO onto that Calyrex. Maybe Ray got a little bit complacent in that little part of the match.
I mean, that's not going to be a mistake that's made again. That is absolutely for sure an adjustment being made, but just a little late at that point. Everyone gathered up here now. We got a game 3 for everyone here for our senior championship final. And so back and forth between the sets. I don't know which way this is going to go.
Yeah, so it's really tough to call because you look at Ray's side, if he gets that Calyrex, I think you want more utility out of the Immungus, because I think the one thing that you would say the difference between Game 1 and Game 2 was the Immungus was able to support for a lot longer, where it kind of taken down really quickly without really much return in that second game, and that was the key. That's what Luke really needs to do, I think. Getting rid of that Immungus, getting rid of the Urshifu as soon as possible allows the Entei and then the Miraidon to kind of really have that big impactful force on his side of the field. But also at the same time, you can't get carried away. You've got to keep that Calyrex in check. You've got a perfect Pokemon to do that, though, with the Farigiraf, you know? Comes up to the field, it gets that electricity boost, so when there's physical threats like the Urshifu come in later on, it's not really so worried about them, especially with the Rillaboom as well. They're the 2 physical threats that were at the end of that game too, but that Psychic Seed really helping out, just let it have that longevity a little bit more that we might sometimes forget about activated so early on, and Luke keeps it on the field that entire
time. Well, there was supposed to be a Mega Gym.
For these trainers, one about to make history, one match away from becoming the world champion here in Honolulu in the seniors division. For Ray, a testament to the skill in the Scarlet and Violet era, and for Luke, the final way to be ending off his time in seniors. Let's make some noise and get into game 3 here. Adjustments, Calyrex next to the Urshifu, Farigiraf, Miraidon, yet again for Luke.
Yeah, nice adjustment here. Again, going from that Amoonguss into the Urshifu here. You've got that immediate damage. If you are the Calyrex, if you are the Urshifu and raise that the field, you maybe protect that Calyrex here, maybe protect the Urshifu here, scout out what the Miraidon's going to do again, or do you try and play into that, maybe expecting Luke to expect that from your side of the field, switch that Miraidon out, maybe go after that Farigiraf because of how threatening it was in that second game. Remove that from the field, you remove the Armor Tail, you kind of free up some of your more options where you've got access to those priority attacks as well. You don't need to worry about the Trick Room either, so your Calyrex can breathe a little sigh of release when that Pokemon has gone down.
Every match so far, we have seen the double protect on this first turn, but Ray is gonna go on the offensive. Astral Barrage, nothing into the Farigiraf, but a lot of damage into the Miraidon. The follow-up, but it's going to be a Draco Meteor miss into the Calyrex. That could have been everything, but instead, Miraidon down on the very first turn in the match. How devastating!
That is so unfortunate for Luke, going for the Draco Meteor and missing. You would have got such a good return there from that Pokemon, keeping it on the field. The Psychic Noise coming into the Urshifu, taking it down to its sash, but not enough. Ray taking a huge advantage because of that miss and because he's been brave and not protecting that first turn, going for pure damage.
The bounce back you have to have from that. Losing the restricted on the first turn, you can't come back from that. If you have something like the Entei, there is possibilities, but absolutely devastating. This is going to be an uphill battle from this point on. And the Calyrex, it has not been damaged whatsoever. So even if the Entei does target into the Urshifu here to take it down, the Calyrex will be able to respond.
Yeah, we'll be able to respond, and it probably in that position now where it could go for a nasty plot here, maybe even go for a Terastallization here, because it's still available on the race side of the field. One thing you could say Luke has got an advantage of here, he can Terastallize that Entei now. Go for that extreme speed, get rid of the Urshifu. Once that's gone, then you can start concentrating on that Calyrex a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about the Astral Barrage so much, but you still have to worry about that Psychic. You've got the Farigiraf there that can help with speed control. You can flip the dimensions. The Amoonguss isn't on the field right now. If it is in the back, though, that becomes a little bit risky because your Electric Terrain is now on a timer.
In the turn 2, it's time for the Terastallization. The Farigiraf, last time, game 2, we saw that foul play coming out from that Terastallization, and what it was able to do to the Calyrex Shadow Rider. Can it do what the Baridon could? Not extreme speed. Urshifu goes down. Is there going to be the follow-up from this Farigiraf for a double KO onto this turn? We have to get past this Calyrex first, as Psychic into this Entei instead. A lot of damage, but not enough. This is going to be the moment, Mo, for Luke to see if he can come back into this match, and it will be that foul play. Took the KO last time around, and it will again. Calyrex, one-hit KO.
Seeing the Draco Meteor miss that turn 1, deciding I'm not going to settle on that. I'm bringing my Entei onto the field. I'm going to use that extreme speed. I'm going to get rid of the threat in the Urshifu and go once again for that successful Terastallization on the Farigiraf. Take advantage of that boosted foul play and get rid of the restricted on Ray's side of the field, leveling the playing field going into this next turn.
We talked so much about the importance of the Entei, but this Farigiraf has been MVP so far, doing what the restricted could not, and now Ray down to final 2 Pokemon. It's the support, and it is the Raging Bolt. The Raging Bolt, since it's been introduced in the format, has definitely been a force to be reckoned with, and this one does have the potential for that damage with that Life Orb. Can it do enough, though? It doesn't have access to that priority, thanks to that Farigiraf, so it has to go slow but steady to take these KOs.
Yeah, the thing is, you really want to utilize that Thunderclap in this situation, but with that Farigiraf on the field with the Armor Tail, that is blocked until that Pokemon exits. The Amoonguss as well is going to be heavily threatened from that Entei now with the Sacred Fire. It's going to do a lot of damage into that Pokemon, but maybe scouting out a Protect from Ray's side, the Entei going for a Protect of its own.
Amoonguss as well, not wanting to take attack from this potential Entei. So it's going to be the other two to act on this turn as Raging Bolt targets into the Farigiraf. It's going to be hanging on this turn, though. Not going to be Fall, but Psychic Noise targeted into Protected Mushroom instead.
Yeah, and that's a really nice play there. Getting some damage onto the Farigiraf as soon as possible. Prioritizing getting rid of that Pokemon is really what you want to do. We talked about the importance of that Armor Tail. It is going to be something you have to remove as soon as possible to kind of free up the ability to use that Thunderclap. Some of those priority attacks that are going to be so useful in closing this game out. Maybe you have to sacrifice the Amoonguss here and go for that Rage Powder to try and draw in some of those big threatening attacks from Entei on Luke's side of the field.
Notable, there is still Terastallization for Ray, so when the moment counts the most, we're going to be able to see the Sparkles come out onto the match, not for offensive on that Raging Bolt, though. Instead, wanting to make sure that this Amoonguss can stick around as long as possible into that Fairy type. Trying to make sure if his Sacred Fire comes out, it's going to be helping out, but helping hand. Can we get the damage here? Rage Powder, the Amoonguss is... You got the damage with the Raging Bolt. You need to keep this Pokemon safe. But is this going to be enough? You drop the weakness, and you're going to take this hit. But you take the burn.
It's a burn. It does survive, though. That's all Ray needs to do for this one turn, because maybe that is enough to remove the Entei from the field, and the Thunder will come out. A Thunderbolt enough to take that down, not into the Farigiraf, so that gets to stick around for a little bit longer.
All right, we got these two Pokemon, the Burnt Little Mushroom, on a little bit of borrowed time as we get into the ending of this game number 1. Luke, this will be the Grimmsnarl, once well trained, as he's down to his final 2 as well on this full health.
Yeah, the Among Us now in a good position to just go for another one of those Rage Powders. Can the Raging Bolt get rid of this Farigiraf on Luke's side of the field? And then it becomes pretty much a one-on-one situation. You've got the more offensive power on Ray's side. So it's all for Luke to do here. Rage Powder coming out as a light screen is set up.
Trying to make sure that you can outdamage your opponent, not take too much as Thunderbolt into the Farigiraf, more than enough to bring Luke down to final Pokemon. And with the Sportive one, and the only move of choice being this foul play, does Luke have enough to close this out?
It's going to be very, very difficult. You'd say with the burn on the Among Us is really impactful here. But the big thing is the electric terrain has now disappeared. So that Grimmsnarl going to be susceptible to those spores. If the Among Us can get one of those off, maybe you take a chance to just protect the Raging Bolt one turn. Scout out that the foul play is going into that slot. Utilize the Among Us, go for the spore, but we're not going to have it.
Instead, the forfeit's locked in, and with that, Ray Yamanaka is going to be your Pokemon World Champion here in the Seniors Division. A thrilling back and forth best of 3 set, and in the end, being able to close it out. First year in playing now in Scarlet and Violet. First game, first generation, and a world champion. What a feat, what an accomplishment.
Absolutely incredible from Ray from start to finish. It was a testament to his play throughout. It looked a little bit dicey after that game too, but he was able to kind of overcome that, come through it, and in the end, really capitalize on some very well-positioned Pokemon and utilizing the tools that he had available, like that Raging Bolt in the end game. Maybe one of those Pokemon that you think, are you going to bring it to this? Is it going to be that effective? But yes, it was effective. It was just what he needed in that end game. And the Among Us so pivotal throughout. Massively done. Huge congratulations to Ray and to both of our finalists.
Honestly, that was all we could ask for in a set. That was so back and forth, all the drama on the thrills, and a worthy world champion. The biggest of congratulations to Ray. And I mean, Ray had spoken about this being a tough tournament through and through, and Luke made him work for it in the finals, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely didn't make it easy at all. And the adjustment in game 2 was so great to see. The surprise thrustalization on the Farigiraf, catching Ray off guard, taking down that Calyrex was such an important turn. The big thing that you would say for Luke was very unfortunate going into that game 3. Pivotal turn with that Draco Meteor miss, because if that hits, things might have turned out a little bit differently there.
It's so tough. You have these powerful attacks, but there has to be the drawback somewhere, and Draco Meteor, sometimes that is going to be your downfall. And maybe if we had even seen the aggression from the Farigiraf in the opposing slot on the first turn, but that's such a hard call, because at the same time, if you're running these not so accurate moves, you can't just hey, maybe it won't hit, so I got to cover, because you still need to take care of the Urshifu in that spot as well. So that is so tough. Absolutely heartbreaking for Luke. But for Ray to be able to bring this to a 3-game and win in this end game was just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think as well, to talk about how Ray has trained his Pokemon, being able to take that Helping Hand, Sacred Fire, pivotal in that end game situation where it was enough to be able to protect that Raging Bolt and just enough time to allow it to remove the really key parts of Luke's side of the field and allow him to walk on and become a 2024 Seniors World Champion.
The first game that was the first set that's gone to 3 here in our bracket, and so worthy. These two were both so deserving, and what a way for this finals to end. Truly speechless. There is so much, yet not enough to say about this. This was just absolutely fantastic, and seeing the adjustments from each game to next as Ray caught a little off guard by the aggression from Luke in game 2, and then game 3 being able to match it to be able to close it out was just wow.
Yeah, it was very well done, and I think that's the thing where Luke was quite comfortable in that situation, saying, okay, I just need to get my Farigiraf into a position where I'm almost given a false sense of security in a lot of ways, where the Farigiraf's, yeah, it's thrown out the Psychic Noise onto the Among Us or whatever is next to the Calyrex, but I'm not going to lock in with as foul plays, you said, and I'm going to maybe choose Helping Hand here and there to try and get that extra damage boost. But then at the right time, just perfectly timed, was able to terrestrialize that photograph and really capitalize in that moment. Just wasn't able to take that into game 3, unfortunately, but more testament to Ray in that situation, because really not faltering, kind of sticking to the game plan, utilizing the perfect tools for the job to get over the line with that Calyrex, taking the opportunity when it's presented to go for that nasty plot, get that +2 boost, which is so important. And although you're sitting in front of most of the time a Pokemon that is a normal type, right, that you can't hit with the Astral Barrage, so you think, oh, maybe if the Entei goes for that terrestrialization, then I'm not going to be able to hit that either. But then you forget about the Psychic and how devastating that can be, especially when it's up to +3, +4.
I mean, what a set, and I think it's about due time that we get to hear from our new Pokemon World Champion, and head on over to the stage to hear from Ray himself.
I'm here with your world champion, Ray Yamanaka. Congratulations. When you started your journey to Worlds, did you expect that this would be the result?
世界大会に向けていろいろと準備してきたと思うんですけども、まさか世界チャンピオンになれると思いましたか？
全くそんなことは考えていませんでした。とても嬉しいです。
I had no idea that I would be the world champion. I didn't think I'd be able to do that at all, but I'm really happy that I did.
We're so proud of you as well, and you are upholding an amazing tradition of Japanese world champions. How does it feel to be representing Japan as a world champion?
日本選手の代表として勝てたっていうことで、すごい嬉しいと感じてますか？
はい、とても本当に嬉しいです。
Yeah, I'm so happy I was able to win as a representative of Japan.
And is there anyone here cheering for you or watching online that you want to say hello or thank you to?
今見てるご家族とか友達とか今応援してくれてる人に挨拶とかメッセージありますか？
ああ、そうだな。応援してくれた人たちに感謝しかないし、これからも頑張っていきたいと思います。
I have nothing but gratitude for everyone who's supported me on this journey so far, and I will keep doing my best in future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for an amazing match. Congratulations one more time for your world champion. And that's not all. We have lots more Pokemon coming your way, don't we, casters? Over to you.
Wow, what a phenomenal couple of finals we have had so far here on Championship Sunday, but we still have one more to show you. My name is Rosemary Kelly, and I'm joined by Lou Aktosh Chromie, and we are so excited to bring you the Masters Finals for the video game here at the 2024 Pokemon World Championships.
We only have one more champion left to crown here at the 2024 Pokemon World Championships. It has been an incredible weekend of competition across all the amazing games we have here, but now it is time for the Masters Division on the video game side of things.
And if you've been enjoying the action that we've had here so far, then make sure that you are signed up to get notifications. You can do that by scanning this QR code to get some email updates. Make sure you subscribe and make sure that you are all in the know about what upcoming Pokemon events and live streams and all the good stuff at the Pokemon Center you have coming your way.
You definitely want to stay informed of all of that epic Pokemon action. And speaking of action, the top cut that has gone through for these Masters Division players has been incredible. So let's take a refresher at the top bracket and how things have shaped up for our players. You can see our finalists here, Yuta Ishigaki and Luca Cheriberi, being able to be one step away from the world champion.
What's amazing about this top cut bracket as well is we actually only had one player that had found themselves in a top 8 of a world championships before, and that was Michael Kelshi. Looked so good being able to make it into that semifinals where Yuta Ishigaki surprised I think a lot of people. When you look at the matchup on paper, you think maybe Michael is the one that's going to be able to have the advantage there, but Yuta playing so well through that semifinal to get here. Likewise on the other side though, Luca Cheriberi, amazing player.
Yes, I think both Luca and Yuta were so dominant in their top 4 matches as well, really going on the offensive and just being in command, total control throughout the entire set. As you can see, they were both 2-0 victories as well. There was almost nothing stopping them from getting into this final.
But what stood out about both of them in their play in the semifinals was the fact that they are just so unafraid
need to make some big plays to try to get that advantage either early on in the game or really turn the tides in their favor. So I think we're in for a good one, Lou, as we get ready to go for the very first game of this final match of the competition. It's just kind of been an amazing journey to get here.
I think that's the thing, though. This World Championship was so coveted. We've been in Hawaii before, twice, in fact, today being the 3rd World Championship here. And there's so much history being made, so much at stake for these trainers. The player pool was incredible. And now we're down to just 2 final competitors, and being able to see all the victorious successes and the heartbreak along the way does just show the journey that all these players have been through. And even though there are just 2 remaining, we've got to also kind of credit and remember all the players that battled them along the way to be here and earned their place at the World Championships.
I mean, that's a great point, because we had 694 Masters Division trainers enter into the competition on the very first day on Friday. And the fact that it's just going to be Luca and Yuta left, that is a testament to itself. This was the biggest World Championships we have ever had, and it's also the very first one we've ever had with a single restricted rule set. You've gotten a chance already to see how that has played out for the juniors and the seniors division, but just in case you're tuning in for the first time, it means that we've got one very powerful Pokemon on either side that a lot of these teams have been created around.
And it was a hot topic of discussion, right? You know, which single restricted is going to be the champion at the end of the day. And a lot of people were obviously talking about Shadow Rider Calyrex that we just saw in the seniors division as well, and we're kind of rocking the fit a little bit for that Pokemon choice, but it's not to be for the Masters division. That restricted Pokemon is either going to be Miraidon or it's going to be the Ice Rider Calyrex.
And both of those Pokemon have definitely been towards the forefront of what we would consider the meta heading into this event. Ice Rider Calyrex alongside Shadow Rider Calyrex, very consistent in terms of the damage output that it can have. With a spread type 100% accurate move, you know that your damage is always going to land. Similarly for Miraidon, this was a Pokemon that has an enormous special attack stat, also a very powerful signature move, even though it is going to be single target, but also how could you not love the purple dragon?
I mean, speaking of signature moves as well, obviously the Electro Drift, so much damage coming down, but as you said, it's single target, so if you want to have those spread type moves, you can look right at the Ice Rider Calyrex that's using that Glacial Lance to deal so much destruction on the field. It's really hard to avoid those attacks, obviously, as well, because they are on the more accurate scale, of course, and doubling down into both the opposing Pokemon. If Chilling Nade boosts get rolling through as well, it makes the Calyrex so formidable to deal with. So it's going to be a clash of the titans between not only the Pokemon, but 2 very esteemed Pokemon trainers as well today.
Even though we kind of expected to see Miraidon and Ice Rider Calyrex both towards the top tables of our competition, I think what's been so unique to watch is just how all of our trainers actually approached how to build around that. For Miraidon teams, in the past couple of weeks, we've really started to notice a trend where Miraidon has been supported by Pokemon like Whimsicott, Farigiraf, but then it's sort of about how do you round out the rest of the team that becomes a bit more predictable. You always want to have sort of that Fire, Water, Grass core if you can, and in this case, we do end up seeing sort of a decision made between what type of fire type you would like to have. But on the other side of things, Yuta made such a creative approach to building out an Ice Rider Calyrex team that's going to be so fun to watch.
And I think those Terra types have really come to the forefront as well. Some trainers opting for really offensive Terra types to give an extra boost behind the damage of their moves. But then we've also seen a lovely change in transition to more defensive Terra types as well. Particularly on Pokemon like Miraidon that we've been talking about. The Terra Electric was reigning supreme when we first were able to access this Pokemon, but now coming into the Pokemon World Championships, we're seeing some more defensive plays, things like the Terra Fairy in action that not only provide some little defensive coverage from those powerful Draco Meteors in the mirror, for example, but also potential Glacial Lances. You're dropping that Dragon type, getting rid of your Ice weakness, and boosting a cheeky Dazzling Gleam as well.
It is such a nice bit of coverage that you can have too. And we've seen Miraidon be able to close out games, kind of similarly to what we see from Ice Rider Calyrex, being able to do the spread damage, chip down those Pokemon enough, then the Miraidon can clean up the rest of the work at the very end of the day.
And sometimes you need a helping hand on your team as well, whether it is literally a helping hand from something like Iron Hands or the move choice from Farigiraf, for example. All those supportive Pokemon are the key components to enabling those restricted Pokemon to shine in their signature roles on the team. Iron Hands definitely is a Pokemon that, since we got Miraidon with the Hadron engine in the field, bringing that electric terrain, activating the Quark drive ability of the Iron Hands while allowing it to still look fashionable with its Assault Vest, has really enabled it to come back into the meta, and it definitely hasn't disappointed, and it's on the roster today.
It really has been amazing to see how Iron Hands has slotted itself back into the fray. At the very beginning of Scarlet and Violet, when it first became legal to use in the format, it was everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It's so bulky, but now that it has the Quark drive and you get a chance to have that attack boost, it can also deal a significant amount of damage to shore up You look at Ice Rider Calyrex, it's naturally very slow, like Iron Hands, but Ice Rider Calyrex nowadays doesn't necessarily always have to operate in Trick Room to actually be powerful.
Well, sometimes the Pokemon can be slow, but let's pick up the pace here at the Pokemon World Championships. Let's introduce you to our 2 finalists in the Masters Division.
All right, Bucky. You won me over with this hit. We're done. Video's over.
Let's go, we've been waiting all year, and we're so ready for this. We got some new tricks up our sleeves. Time to give them what they came to see. Let's give them something to remember. We can give it all we got tonight. We're not going home till we win the fight. So let's put on a show.
Let's get right into your Video Game Masters Championship. Welcome to the stage, from Italy, Luca Ceribelli. And from Japan, Yuta Ishigaki. All right, we just have a few moments before the match, so I just want to know, how confident are you feeling?
今日の自信のほどはどうですか?
まあまあですね。
Decent. Yeah.
Great, simple answer, very good. What about you, how confident?
I let the game decide.
All right, that's a good answer too. Let's hear it for your 2 competitors. Do you want to see them play? I do too. Please take your seats. Casters, let's get right into this match.
We're going to keep it short and sweet here as we try to allow our competitors to get ready to go for this World Championships. So exciting because, Lou, we're going to be crowning a new world champion here this weekend for the Masters Division.
I mean, Anna just asked the question. I definitely want to see them play, and it sounds like the crowd does as well. It has been such a journey for these trainers to be able to get through to the world stage, and both of them after that first ever world title for either of them. There can be so much history, so much at stake to be made here.
And there's so much support for them in the audience as well. We actually have a couple of friends and family staying by with Sierra, so let's hear from them about their support for these competitors.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you two. I am here with friends of our finalists. A few words, so I'm hoping to dive a little bit deeper. I have Arash Hamadi and Hugh Mahara. One question each. I want to know, do you think Luca is ready to become a world champion?
I think so. Like, before the tournament, I knew he was one of the best in the world. I didn't know if he was the best, but like after seeing how he went from 3-2 in day 1, like winning 8 games straight against some of the hardest matchup for Marathon, and then winning all the games in Top Cut, like right now I think he's the best in the world. Like if anyone can get it done, it's him. Yeah.
Has an opportunity to prove it now, that is for sure. Yeah, let's hear it, guys. We got to make sure we got a lot of noise in here for our finals. But of course, I have to ask the same. But about Yuta, do you think ready to become a world champion?
同じ質問をします。お友達の石垣選手は世界チャンピオンになる準備はできていると思いますか?
はい、本人に話を聞いた感じ、しっかり準備はできてるっぽいんで、みんなで応援して盛り上がっていきましょう。
Yes, from what I heard from him, he's very prepared, and I hope that we can all support him and tell him to do his best.
I cannot wait to get started with this finals. Let's not waste any more time to head back on over to our casters.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement for our competitors. It really is no surprise why both of them are here. We talk about them being prepared and ready to go for this Masters Finals. Let's give you a little bit of insight why we expected to see them here in the first place. On your left, you have Yuta Ishigaki, who came into this event with just so much experience playing the video game, over 10 plus years having actually played this game, and also came in as one of the favorites from the Japan national circuit.
Exactly, so much consistency in recent times, as well as having over a decade of veteran experience that he's going to be able to pull on here and remain composed on the world stage. His opponent, however, in the form of Luca, has a lot of accomplishments as well. If we just look at his world championship history back in the 2022 World Championships, he finished top 64. The following Worlds in 23 finished in the top 32, and then has gone even further here in 24 to be at least second place. And who knows, in a matter of minutes, we might find out if he's going to get the #1 spot. But also more recently at the Bologna special event in Europe was able to get second place. So he knows what it takes to be able to get to this point, but he also knows how it feels to get second. He wants to get first.
Absolutely. Both of our trainers really looking forward to that world champion title. But Lou, who do you think is going to actually win this championship?
Do you know what? I could have made this decision on an absolute coin flip. It is so close between both these competitors. Yuta has so much offensive pressure with the Pokemon choices on his team. But let's be honest, I got to be rooting for Europe here. Luca Cherubelli, he's going to be the one for me.
I was also on the fence about this one because I think there's so many different things that Luca can do in order to win this match, but right now the onus is on Yuta to really set the pace of this match, to try to throw Luca off his game, and if Yuta can just kind of go for the gold in those first couple of turns, he might just have the game outright.
Plus, I am a lover of Miraidon, so I love to see that here in the final. Definitely one I'm going to be keeping my eye on as one of the newer Pokemon that we've been able to play with in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet as well, so it's nice to see it in its kind of first attempt here on the world stage and see what it can do.
Yeah, but the Ice Rider Calyrex, it has been a little bit underrated as we've taken a look at maybe some of the online tournaments heading into this weekend, as a lot of our trainers tried to prepare for the very best of the tournament. But now I think for Yuta, this has just been such an accomplished Pokemon for him. One thing though that Yuta has not faced yet, despite all of the preparation that he has put into this tournament, he has yet to face a Miraidon. So this is going to be his very first experience in the entire tournament. Here are the finals.
Isn't that wild that you can go through the whole Pokemon World Championships and this is the first time, I mean, better late than never, I guess, to face down against a Miraidon. And he certainly does have some tools in his team composition to be able to deal with it. But just a little refresher as well of both of these contenders. You can see that they already have a lot of accomplishments on their roster. And as of today, they're going to be able to add one more.
One more, both of them looking for that big finish. Yuta actually though, being able to do so well in these online qualifiers, I think it speaks a little bit to just how you're supposed to be able to play maybe some of these best of ones, those one game sets. It can be very impressive and also very difficult in the moment to figure out maybe what kind of game plan you want to go for, but this is certainly a team that can really try to throw people off guard with. When we take a look at Ice Rider Calyrex teams, we really have seen more often than not at the very beginning of the format leaning heavily into that Trick Room mode, but as we started to progress and move towards the World Championships, really has been a bit more about trying to be a little bit faster. But there's no tailwind on this Pelipper.
Exactly, but Yuta does still have a lot of speed options here. You have very speedy Pokemon in the form of the Iron Valley, and particularly when it gets that booster energy activated, as well as the Landorus with the Choice Scarf. So you have the two fastest things out of this composition of 12 Pokemon that could be in this battle. You also have the utility to go for Trick Room in the form of Calyrex. So Yuta really does have that in control, and then we'll be forcing Luca to have to adapt to that very early on in turn 0.
And on Luca's side, with this Miraidon, again, a very classic composition around this particular Pokemon. But when you look at maybe how Luca might want to try to approach this game plan versus Yuta, you're really looking at the Miraidon, the Iron Hands, to be able to take advantage of the electric terrain Miraidon is going to set, and potentially this Farigiraf.
That's the thing, it swings and roundabouts of the electric type Pokemon here. Miraidon on the very fast and offensive side, Iron Hands a little bit more stocky, a little bit more slow and steady. So Luca does have the tools to be able to adjust accordingly to whatever Yuta is throwing down, and you can see here, perfect preparation, staying with the former world champion Arashi Mardi, who you heard from earlier, winning back in 2013. Could Luca be winning here for Italy in 2024?
Let's go ahead and find out, everybody, as we jump into the very first game of the Masters Finals of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships. For Luca, you are right away going to see this Miraidon next to this Urshifu, but for Yuta, it is going to be the Pelipper and the Landorus.
This Landorus is in such a commanding position at the moment. You've got the rain on the field, so that not only allows Sans's Storm to be able to deal 100% accuracy, but Pelipper is also rocking that helping hand. If you can give a boost to the Landorus with Sheer Force as the ability going through for something like a Sans's Storm, that is going to be able to remove the Miraidon from play.
And the Landorus, it sees the perfect target on the other side. This Miraidon with the Terra Fairy is going to be weak to the Sludge Bomb, but it's also being pressured down by those super effective Sandsear Storms. So this could be one way that we actually need to see Luca make one of these split-second decisions. Do you try to Terrasilize down to try to get yourself off the field with something like a Volt Switch, it's going to come down to this first turn.
The Urshifu on Luca's side as well, having that focus sash gives it a little bit of flexibility. You can apply a lot of pressure with something like the Surging Strikes, particularly boosted up by the opposing Pelipper's Rain, and really kind of provide a way of getting through that opposing Landorus. But let's see how this turn is going to play out.
It does have a focus sash, so it's going to be able to withstand one of those hits as well before the Pelipper may be able to follow up. But that's why this Miraidon is going to be forced to have to manually switch off the field. It's going to be the Iron Hands that takes its place, hopefully able to take these hits also. You see the attack boost come through from this Quark Drive as, look at that, there is a terrestrialization.
Yes, the Iron Hands joins the field. It is holding that Assault Vest, so it's going to be able to, withstand a decent amount of the special attack that the opposing Landorus is able to throw its way, but it is going to go for that defensive Terror type into the Ghost typing here, as well as Pelipper does use its wings to give a helping hand to the Landorus.
This is one way that the Pelipper can bypass some of these speed interactions, just be able to help out as the Sludge Bomb gets tanked here by this Iron Hands. In response, this Urshifu with the Surging Strikes, it's going to be 3 hits, and this Landorus, that's going to be the only thing it gets to do for this game number 1 as it goes down.
Fantastic play by Luca, the one-hit KO, removing this threatening Landorus from play. I love the way Luca was able to pivot this in here. From Yuta's side, it looks like he was thinking that Miraidon is going to go for the Terra Fairy. So then it's going to be a lot more vulnerable to something like the Sludge Bomb coming through from the Landorus. So a fantastic switch by Luca, not only using that Assault Vest to take the attack, but enabling the Urshifu to come through and get that damage on the board.
Was a very tough turn for both of our trainers having to think about that, right? Is that Terra going to come through? Are you actually going to see a switch? And so both of them really having to make that quick decision. But where do we go from here, Lou? Because right now, Yuta is going to be down 1 Pokemon and critically down the Terra. It's gone.
That's very true, and it's going to be interesting to see which Pokemon Yuta has in the back. If it is something like that Ice Rider Calyrex, you can start getting into a position where you might be able to set up the Trick Room and gain a little bit more momentum on your field. And we are going to see the Calyrex join the battle here now. This is your big offensive powerhouse. And again, you have the utility with something like the Pelipper to be able to go for a helping hand here, just to be able to boost up some extra damage. Or at the same time, try and deal out some big damage with a Hurricane, because those do hurt, considering it's holding a Life Orb.
Yeah, but the problem here is that because that Terra is gone, this Calyrex can't even go for defensive Terra with the Terra Grass. Maybe a little bit of good news for it is Luca is going to remove the Urshifu from the field in favor of that Miraidon. So what is going to happen on this next turn as you see the Hadron Engine activate once again, and Calyrex is also going to get out of there.
It's a little bit of a bait here, actually, as Amoonguss joins the field. So we do see this kind of slower mode in the back that was kept for Yuta as the fake out comes through into that Amoonguss. Going to be able to retaliate with a little bit of Rocky Helmet as Pelipper does go for that Weather Ball, is going to be bringing the Water type attack down into Iron Hands, but not enough to get the knockout. The bulk there really prevailing for Iron Hands.
Not quite enough, but now this Amoonguss is on the field. While it's not going to be able to go for something like the Spore because the electric terrain is active, none of these Pokemon will be able to get put to sleep. It does have the opportunity here to go for something like the Pollen Puff or the Clear Smog, just get a little bit of damage down, but it can also go for the Rage Powder if it wants to. That's what we see with this Pelipper switching off the field.
This is what Yuta wants, though. You want to make sure that you have the Calyrex next to the Amoonguss so you can provide that redirection to enable a safe setup with the Trick Room. But it's always a little risky switching in, and at least if the... Oh, it's going to be just the Draco Meteor straight out the blocks here into the Amoonguss. That's gone! It does not have the redirectional support anymore.
That's going to be another knockout here for Luca as Yuta, just like that, is down to his 2 final Pokemon in this first game. The Wild Charge as well is going to have to be taken here by this Ice Rider Calyrex. And on this electric terrain, not only is he going to be able to get a boost from that, but you're also going to see that massive attack added in. The recoil, though, going to eliminate this Iron Hands from this game, but there's still so many more Pokemon that Luca gets to depend on.
I mean, honestly, Luca has played this so well. Losing the Iron Hands is actually a benefit because you get the option to bring your Urshifu back onto the field, and it still has its Focus Sash intact. 2 more turns of this electric terrain as well for Miraidon to play around. Pelipper also does not want to have to face it. It looks like that's the forfeit coming in from Yuta. Luca's going to take game 1.
What an explosive start to this match as well. First, second turn, very, very difficult decision there for both of our players to make. And Luca was the one that ended up getting it right.
Exactly. I think as well when you see the Pelipper in play, and we're so used to seeing Pelipper holding the Focus Sash, but the fact that it was there so vulnerable, you've got the Miraidon that's in the dominant speed tier, just able to apply so much pressure with any electricity it wants to throw its way. Things were looking very dire for Yuta. I have to say, coming into this match, Rosemary, you and I were talking about how turn 0 is going to be critical, and that's where the momentum is going to swing. And that's exactly what we saw happen here. Pelipper going for the helping hand, perfect. If this had been a Terra Fairy Miraidon on the opposing side, this would have been a knockout here for Yuta and would have already gained so much momentum. But Luca not enabling that for him here, instead switching in the Iron Hands and getting the KO on the Landorus instead.
Had it been the Sandseer Storm, you're still doing a critical amount of damage to both Pokemon. And so it's a little bit hard to kind of consider, maybe would that have been a bit more to go for in that first turn, so you know that you can break the Focus Sash on that Urshifu and also just start to chip away at either the Miraidon or this Iron Hands that switched in.
I think you make a very valid point there, actually, because as you've said, if the Iron Hands comes in, yes, it is still holding that Assault Vest, but it is still not going to appreciate taking a Sandseer Storm, and you know that you have the accuracy as well with Pelipper on the field. So going into this game too, considering that Luca is now just one game away from being the champion, if you are Yuta, you have got to do everything you can to stop him in his tracks. Make sure that if you are bringing those powerful Pokemon like the Landorus, for example, that you're making those turn calls correct.
We did not get a chance to actually see Trick Room get utilized in that first game. Wonder if that is a strategy that Yuta could potentially rely upon in order to get an upper hand in some way. We don't necessarily know how the Iron Hands and the Calyrex Ice Rider would fare against each other, while they are both considerably on the lower side of that speed. But one option that you could see Yuta try to rely upon.
I would almost like to see the Calyrex coming out here with the Pelipper. You can provide some support with the Rain here as well as being able to go for something like that Weather Ball, deal some big damage out on the field and enable Calyrex to get that Trick Room set up. You can also support with very powerful offensive Pokemon like the Landorus to try and get a knockout while Calyrex sets up. And you also have Amoonguss for redirectional support. Lots of options, but let's see what the trainers have gone for.
Well, there's going to be an adjustment here from Luca as we do get a chance to see this Ogerpon, Hearthflame, and the Miraidon. But here for Yuta, it is going to be that Iron Valiant finally making an appearance on this stream next to his Landorus.
Yuta is not slowing down, instead going on the speedy side here. You've got the Iron Valiant on the field. With the boost that it's going to get from Quark Drive, now it's going to be extra speedy, and you have the Choice Scarf on this Landorus. Iron Valiant's going to be the fastest thing on the field.
And that Landorus not too far behind it either. And so now Luca's going to have to figure out what to actually go for here. With this Iron Valiant, it is running Spirit Break, so that is one way that you can start to control a bit of the special attack output from this Miraidon, because you have no way to actually remove the terrain. So it's always going to keep that Hadron Engine boost to its special attack. The other thing that you have, though, is if you really want to, you can consider trying to switch something in or go for coaching. There's a lot of options here for this Iron Valiant to provide in terms of support.
It's going to be tempting to go for the Spirit Break, though, to kind of force the Terrestrialization on the opposing Miraidon, but then Miraidon has that redirectional support with the Ogerpon next to it to be able to provide that redirection. You do see the Terrestrialization come through, though. It has been forced. There is no Dragon type on the field anymore. A pure Fairy type in the form of Miraidon here. Something like a Dazzling Gleam would deal a significant chunk of damage. It's going to be some redirection coming in for the Ogerpon, just going to save it from taking a Spirit Break and luring its special attack.
Well, the Spirit Break into the Ogerpon is going to do just a little bit of damage, is resisted though, and that special attack drop not going to matter on this physically offensive threat, but it is going to be the Sludge Bomb follow-up that gets the knockout at the end of the day. But the most important thing is that this Miraidon is going to be alive, and also with full HP to go for the Volt Switch into the Iron Valiant, which is a one-hit knockout.
You've removed one big threat from the field here, as well as enabling Luca the opportunity to now adjust and switch up the ball position. The Volt Switch will mean a Pokemon has to come into the fruition, but then because you have had that other partner removed, you can also bring a second Pokemon into play. It's going to be the Iron Hands. So we know that Fake Out potential is on the field, as well as once again boosting up that Quark Drive and boosting the attack of the Iron Hands.
Oh boy. We've got two future Paradox Pokemon in this match, but it's going to be Iron Hands that continues to prevail above all right now.
Do you know what I wonder, though, is if Yuta is now going to completely switch things up here. You went with the fast mode front and center. Now you have the utility to bring in something slower from the back. It is that Calyrex Ice Rider, and you have the offensive pressure from something like the Landorus that could go for a lot of damage right now into both these opposing Pokemon. If you've got the Calyrex in play, you can try and get the Trick Room, and if there is indeed something like the Amoonguss in the back as well, that could be a fantastic endgame state for Yuta.
It could be, but there's not really a great way to remove this Miraidon before it can potentially get a decent amount of damage out. You look at the Landorus with this Sludge Bomb, and it's not necessarily guaranteed to be enough for a knockout in a lot of cases. So if there's any little bit of extra damage that could come through, maybe this Calyrex is able to withstand another attack. It's why this Terra is going to be so important to have preserved for something like this Ice Rider to have a defensive capability.
I almost wonder if the Terra on the Landorus could be good as well, though, because you know Fake Out's in the field with the Iron Hands. You're locked into Sludge Bomb, and you're going to be able to do a significant chunk of damage to the opposing Miraidon here. If you do indeed go for something like the Ghost Terra, then you can avoid being hit by that Fake Out. But the Grass Terrestrialization is also a key component. A lot of decisions here for Yuta.
A lot of decisions and not a whole lot of time to do it as he is down a game in this set. One more win here and Luca's going to become your world champion. So it comes down to this. The Ice Rider Calyrex going to take on that grass terastization. He's going to have to hope that it can get through and survive some of his damage and that this Trick Room is going to be the exact environment that it wants to be in. But as there's going to be a fake out here, this Ice Rider Calyrex is not going to be able to get a chance to move as a Slud Bomb in return. Definitely not enough to knock out this Miraidon. So it's free to go for another Draco Meteor, another one-hit knockout. And that is going to be Luca one step closer to becoming the world champion.
No stopping Luca at this point in time. You needed the helping hand to be able to get the KO with that Sludge Bomb. It just wasn't enough without a critical hit to completely deactivate this Miraidon on the field. Fantastic play from Luca here. And you see the Amoonguss coming in as well. The last two remaining Pokemon for Yuta in his bid to become the world champion. Trick Room is not in play. However, Amoonguss can now go for a little bit of redirection. You know that the opposing Miraidon is now locked into that Draco Meteor. It's had its special attack dropped, so it's not going to be dealing as much damage.
Yeah, and if you are able to actually get this Trick Room set up, then it is going to be an easier way to try to get through this Miraidon. You have the speed in your control, and you will be able to start dishing out some of these Glacial Lances. As Miraidon does go for a Draco Meteor, though, into the Amoonguss, it's going to do a decent amount of damage.
And no redirection coming through here. Instead, just the natural double target from Luca into the Amoonguss. Survives on. The Iron Hand's going to take a little bit of recoil from the Rocky Helmet, but critically, Yuta still has two Pokemon remaining on the field. It did not go for the redirection. It goes for the Pollen Puff, has Calyrex's back, and if Calyrex is going for the Trick Room, it flips the match on its head.
Now the speeds are going to be in control potentially for this Ice Rider Calyrex, but we have to see how it's going to fare against something like this Iron Hands.
Iron Hands is definitely a Pokemon that can be trained to be very, very slow, and in some situations can indeed match that Calyrex in form. So we're going to have to see exactly how these trainers have trained their Pokemon in terms of speed and who is going to be the faster. Amoonguss really sitting on borrowed time here. There's no other Pokemon to switch out with, so the Regenerator ability is null and void. And because the electric trainer's on the field, you cannot go for any spores. If anything, Amoonguss here needs to maybe, I think, only go for the redirection. You've got Clear Smog, but I don't think that's going to do too much. Although into the Miraidon, it might be enough.
It might be enough, absolutely, but Amoonguss and Trick Room is going to be the first to move. Iron Hands is going to take a very pitiful amount of damage there, and as it goes for the Drain Punch now, it is going to get a little bit of recoil thanks to hitting into the Rocky Helmet.
And it went before the Calyrex as well, so able to get a little bit of damage back. This could be indicative of how they are trained indeed. Of course, Amoonguss does go down, and now Calyrex has the utility to go for that Glacial Lance. Instead, however, it's high horsepower. I mean, that's one way to do it. You get a KO, and you will get the Chilling Neigh boost as well, but Miraidon is yet to move.
It is yet to move, but it is at -4 special attack. So it may be, as long as this is not going to be a critical hit, it is going to just do a little bit of damage at a time. Now that Miraidon is at -6, as the Farigiraf is now going to come in as that fourth and final here for Luca.
This is not what you want to see if you are the Calyrex here. Not only is the Electric Sea boosting up the defense on Farigiraf's side, but it is rocking that foul play. And as your attack boost from Chilling Neigh get higher and higher, foul play's potential gets bigger and bigger. Calyrex going for the Glacial Lance. However, this is going to be enough to get the KO on Miraidon, but Farigiraf, no, it's still here. It's going to have to take another one of those.
It's going to have to take another one, and it's going to have to survive another attack coming in from this Farigiraf. And so, as we see the Chilling Neigh boost come up one more time, it's going to be even more detrimental as the foul play goes into the Calyrex and brings it down so low.
So close, but Calyrex hanging on. It is now a 1v1. Calyrex is going to move first. This is a single target down into the Farigiraf.
And that's going to be enough for the knockout. We're going to a Game 3 between Yuta and Luca.
Does it get closer than this, Pokemon trainers? Game 3, Masters Division, Pokemon World Championships. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm not even in my seat, Rosemary. It's that intense. Oh my goodness. Here we go.
I cannot believe how down to the wire that went. So much to take away from the last couple of turns of that game. As we ended up seeing the Trick Room get set up, the Iron Hands did move first in Trick Room. What an interesting takeaway from that game.
Trick Room was honestly very interesting here. Not only were the speeds, like you said, with the Iron Hands and the Calyrex interesting, but the key thing for me was that Amoonguss. It was able to hang on 2 hit points remaining. That was the completely pivotal thing, and you can see the celebration there from Yuta, knowing that that was clutch to be able to close out the end game. But also, I love the turn where he set up the Trick Room and did not go for the redirection, instead going, okay, Luca, if he goes down into the opposing Calyrex, then it's over anyway. But if he doubles down into this Amoonguss and I allow it to have the Pollen Puff boost, that's exactly what Calyrex needed in the end game as well. So fantastic to see that come into play.
It did. You could see just how much that HP differential got made up there from that Pollen Puff. Absolutely. I mean, there you go. Even just being able to deal that Rocky Helmet chip, you could see Luca was a little bit disappointed not being able to actually get the knockout there. And so as this Iron Hands gets to go for another attack, it has to take that high horsepower, ends up getting knocked out for all of its troubles. But then we finally get into the last couple of moments where it's the Farigiraf with the foul play versus this Ice Rider Calyrex that had those attack boosts from Chilling Nay.
Honestly, that can be so detrimental. If you get those attack boosts up, we know how much damage Foul Play is capable of, but look at that, 35 hit points remaining, and I would be so interested to go back and do the maths on whether that Pollen Puff was indeed super critical towards the end. Farigiraf goes down, though, the single target doing that extra bit of damage to push it over the edge, as well as obviously having had the boost just meant that it was going to be a fall for the Giraffe there. But now, Pokemon trainers, it is game 3. One game separates these two trainers from world champion and runner-up.
Cannot believe this is what it all comes down to. You can feel the energy right now as both of them get locked in and ready to go for this third and final game. We ended up seeing a really good adjustment from both of them as well as we headed into the second one. The Ogerpon Heartflame there for Luca, the Iron Valiant making an appearance there for Yuta. And even though we didn't get a chance to see the Iron Valiant do too much, it did force out a Terra that helped Yuta navigate through that game just a little bit better. But Lou, everybody, let's get ready as Game 3 is upon us here at the 2024 Pokemon World Championships between Yuta, Ishigaki, and Luca Ceribelli.
The leads are out once again. Miraidon with its best buddy Ogerpon by its side for redirection. And now we have got the Speedy and the Slow. We have got the Iron Valiant and the Calyrex Ice Rider.
Both of them on the field right now, it kind of forces your hand. What sort of mode would you potentially want to go for? And let's not forget that this Iron Valiant has the opportunity to go for coaching that would help to increase the attack stat of this Ice Rider Calyrex right away.
I mean, if you go for the Terra Grass as well on that Calyrex Ice Rider, you're in a difficult spot here. It means you will resist the electric type attacks from the opposing Miraidon. Draco Meteor will be neutral, but you are fearing that opposing Ogerpon. If it wants to go for that fire type Ivy Cudgel, it is going to be dealing a huge chunk of damage. But whether or not with the coaching, being able to boost up your defense as well, that's going to be able to put you in a survivability spot is yet to be determined. And if there is not a Terrestrialization coming through from that Miraidon, a Glacial Lance is going to hurt like a trap.
It will. So I think it comes down once again to what's going to happen on this very first turn, as we do see the leads on the board. Do also continue to think about Trick Room setup in this moment. I wonder.
Exactly. Trick Room has the capability here, and really, Yuta is in, I think, Luca's head. What's it going to be? Redirection coming through from that Ogerpon, drawing in all of the attack potential, maybe something like a Spirit Break, but instead, it's going to be that coaching coming through. And as you can see, Calyrex is going to be gaining the attack and the defense that is not redirected by the Follow Me.
But the Draco Meteor into that slot, it's not going to help you with that with your special defense. But this Ice Rider Calyrex does hold on as it gets to set up the Trick Room.
Now the speeds are very, very interesting. The Iron Valiant in a little bit of a detrimental position, but you could always use this opportunity to switch something in from the back or let the Iron Valiant go down, be happy for it to be KO'd and allow it to try and go for something in return here. You could always maybe switch it out for something like the Amoonguss, maybe just get some Rocky Helmet damage here, but for me it's about the Calyrex. In this situation, do you actually go for a Protect and allow one turn of Trick Room to allow for a ball position switch from that Iron Valiant, or do you just go for the Glacial Lance?
I think you just have to try to make the most of the attack boost that you've been given, right? You may not necessarily be able to get a big knockout onto this Ogerpon, but also depends on maybe how these are trained, but at the very least you've scared away this Miraidon. It is going to retreat, and instead it is going to be Iron Hands that takes its place. So let's see what happens from here after we see this attack boost for the Iron Hands.
Well, Yuta doesn't necessarily want to see this Iron Hands. We know that it has the potential to be faster in Trick Room against that Calyrex, and with the very low HP remaining, it's got something like a Fake Out, should be able to get the edge on it. The Pelipper joining the field, though, bringing that rain is just going to enable none of these fire type attacks to deal as much damage, but Ogerpon playing defensively and going for that Spiky Shield.
Spiky Shield means that you are actually going to have it on the field a little bit longer. It's going to deny a boost, another boost to this Ice Rider Calyrex's attack, but as it's going to be the Iron Hands that has to take its place. It has the Assault Fist. It doesn't necessarily have a way to boost up its defenses, so that's over 50% it's going to take from a single Glacial Lance.
If I'm the Iron Hands now, I've got a decision to make. Do you go for the Fake Out into the Calyrex, or does the Calyrex Protect and then you wouldn't go for the fake out into the Pelipper, because if you leave the Calyrex unchecked, another Glacial Lance is going to do a huge chunk of damage. But if you leave the Pelipper unchecked, something like the Weather Ball is going to hurt going down into the, or a Hurricane even, into the opposing Ogerpon.
That's why we're going to see the Amoonguss actually end up taking this Pelipper's place instead, and the Calyrex smartly protecting itself so it doesn't have to fear a fake out. Fake out does go into the Amoonguss though, so now that you see that come through, it's going to be a little bit more Rocky Helmet recoil and the Ivy Cudgel going into the protected Calyrex.
I really like this play by Yuta. It's sacrificing a turn of Trick Room to switch up the ball position, because now Amoonguss going to be the slowest thing on the field. It can go for something like the Pollen Puff and have that Calyrex regenerate a little bit of HP, particularly with the rain in play. It gives it a little bit more defensive support, or at the same time you can go for that redirection. You know that the Iron Hands only has single target type attacks, so you can draw them in. Obviously the Ogerpon, however, being a grass type, is not going to be affected by that Rage Powder, so it makes things difficult.
It does make it difficult, meaning that if you try to redirect away something like an Ivy Cudgel or even just a Woodhammer, this Calyrex is already not going to be sitting at a very healthy amount of HP. So as you head into this next turn, we are going to end up seeing a Terrestrialization first, and let's see what it's for.
Nice to see it a little bit later in the game, but it is indeed going to be on the Ogerpon here, dropping his grass type and just becoming a fully fledged fire type in this rain on the field here, trying to maybe use that embody aspect to boost up the attack stat and get rid of this Amoonguss.
Would be nice, but the Amoonguss going for the Rage Powder means it's going to work because it did get rid of that grass typing. So it's going to draw this attention away from this Ogerpon, as it also has to take the low kick. Another little bit of chip damage down to this Iron Hands as the Glacial Lance hits into both of these targets. The Iron Hands is definitely going to go down, and the Ogerpon, now that it has removed that grass typing, it still only takes about half of that damage.
It's still going to be vulnerable though, considering that's another chilling Nay boost that the Calyrex has got. The Ivy Cudgel going to come through in the rain down into this opposing Amoonguss. It's going to be able to hit hard, and it is enough to get the knockout.
Ooh, the knockout even through the rain. That is what you can see from just this embody aspect attack boost, really trying to help out there. It allows Yuta to bring in something else, and this Calyrex in Trick Room is still going to be one of the faster things on the field, but it's going to be the Farigiraf now that's going to take this Iron Hands' place.
This gets very interesting now. You've got the defense boost coming through from the Electric Sea, but you've also got Pelipper, generally on the slower side Pokemon-wise on the field. But whether the Pelipper or the Farigiraf are going to be able to move first could be critical here. Pelipper in a prime position to target down something like a Weather Ball into that Ogerpon and remove it from play. At the same time, Farigiraf doesn't want to have to take another one of these Ivy Glacial Lancers. Maybe doubled up from the Pelipper could be enough to get the KO. You have got the other boost. Ogerpon may go down to another Glacial Lance.
This is the last turn of Trick Room though, so we are going to have to see you to try to make the most of it. And while you have all of these boosts intact, even the sliver of HP means that you will be up and ready to go for something like another attack. Now that there is also this Terrestrialization on the Ogerpon, there's no way that Farigiraf can actually Terrestrialize to a water type to try to resist some of this damage. So we see the Ogerpon go for the spiky shield here. Very safe play to make sure that it will be one of the fastest things outside of this Trick Room. So when we do see this attack from this Calyrex Ice Rider, it is not going to end up attacking into the Ogerpon there. But critically, we also don't see a helping hand from this Pelipper. But the Farigiraf going for the foul play will get the knockout onto the Calyrex, but what is this Pelipper going to do?
I mean, I don't know if there's too much that it can do here. The foul play removing the restricted here. Pelipper was going for the Weather Ball. It is finding its mark down onto that Farigiraf. Rain boosted, Life Ball boosted. It gets the knockout. But both these trainers now, as Trick Room ends, forced to their last two remaining Pokemon. Pelipper's going to be joined by the Iron Valiant, and it's going to be the Miraidon joining the Ogerpon.
Yes, but now that we end up seeing this board state, we have the Iron Valiant that's going to be coming back in for Yuta, which outside of Trick Room, now that that's expired, is going to be faster than this Miraidon, especially because Miraidon is going to reset the electric terrain as it comes back in.
That's very true, giving a natural Quark Drive boost to this Iron Valiant. And as you said already as well, the Terrestrialization has been used on that Ogerpon, so there's no Fairy Terrestrialization that can come through from this Miraidon. I have to say though, the one thing for Ogerpon here is that redirection. If you want to go for the Follow Me and save the Miraidon from having to take a powerful Spirit Break from the Iron Valiant, that can be exactly what the Miraidon needs in order to get some damage down on the field. You could go for something like a Dazzling Gleam, but there is the potential of a Wide Guard on the opposing side. So I think you've got to lock in something that's going to be boosted by the Electro Terrain, maybe the Electro Drift. I think it's time to see it.
I think it might be time to see it as well. We saw how much the Volt Switch from the Miraidon did into the Iron Valiant before, so we know that an Electro Drift would certainly be able to get the knockout as well. Yuta still hasn't used Terra though, and there is a very good defensive Terra, but you take a look at this Pelipper being able to terrestrialize to the grass type.
Yeah, Pelipper can't protect either, so it's going to be completely vulnerable to any electric type attacks that are coming its way. So I think as you have got the terrestrialization in your back pocket, Yuta needs to unveil it now, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing, Rose.
It's going to be a terrestrialization into potentially one of the final turns of this Masters Finals. The Pelipper going to take that grass typing, a great way to be able to resist these electric type attacks from this Miraidon, but you do make yourself a bit vulnerable to this Ogerpon, even if in the rain. Helping hand though into this Iron Valiant. Do we end up seeing a redirection though from this Ogerpon? And yes we do! It is going to redirect away this attack.
The helping hand boost though is still going to be able to come through. Spirit Break, fastest thing on the field, connects down into the Ogerpon, but not enough to be able to get the knockout. And as a physical attacker, Ogerpon does not mind taking that drop for its partner Miraidon that does go for the Electro Drift.
The Electro Drift into this Iron Valiant is going to be enough to secure the knockout here. You see the headset come off, and Yuta knows this might just be all she wrote. This Pelipper, this last bastion of hope here for Yuta to try to get through this game, but the rain has stopped. The protection is gone here for this grass-type Pelipper. And as we see the forfeit locked in, we got to see Luca Cervelli become your 2024 Pokemon World Champion.
Italy does it again. Luca Cervelli is your 2024 World Champion. The flames are ablaze, the engines engaged, the drive and determination to win was detected for Luca Cervelli. An encore of applause is completely deserving for our champion and the Pokemon who gave him a helping hand to victory.
Amazing stuff. You know, it is so fantastic to see Luca join the ranks of these incredible world champions that we have seen come before him. This is a player that has worked so hard for this moment. In 2023, being able to have one of the best seasons ever. You talk about all those top 16s that he's been able to have, the top 8s, getting a second even in Bologna this season, right before we've made it to this World Championships, and he's done it. This is his first major win, and what a one to have.
I'm actually choking up behind the desk a little bit here, Rosemary. That was such a beautiful celebration coming through from Luca. At the end of the European season in Bologna, got second place, so close to #1. And you can see him here going through the crowd, getting back onto center stage after celebrating with his friends, who really were the true play he made along the way, as well as some incredible Pokemon play. And commiserations, we have to say as well, to Yuta Ishigaki. Fantastic play, so much offensive pressure coming through from the Iron Valiant and the Landorus, as well as being so dominant with some interesting speed alterations. But Luca was, I think, constantly in control of the play.
And it's so impressive because of just how many unique adjustments Yuta really did have for this Calyrex Ice Rider team. Very interesting picks that, in theory, should be able to help try to neutralize a little bit of this Miraidon matchup. The Landorus being able to deal that super effective damage or force a Terra. You also just have this Iron Valiant that has thrown a spanner in the works for a lot of the players that he's faced already. But Luca, very calm, cool, collected, and also not afraid to take those risks, like switching in that Iron Hands for that very first game, thinking there's a Sludge Bomb on the other side. I don't have to worry about a Sandsear Storm.
I think you've said it perfectly. He was completely in control. And I think although Yuta had so many key pieces that could apply a lot of pressure to Luca, he stayed composed throughout. And actually, it's not just about the Pokemon on the field. Sometimes you have to play the player as well. And I feel like Luca was constantly reading the book that Yuta was writing and was constantly able to adapt. That turn 1 play at the beginning of the set as well, like you said, bringing in the Iron Hands, just meant that the strategy and the pressure that Yuta has was completely neutralized, as well as going through the rest of the set, making sure that those key components were removed so beautifully by Luca.
It was amazing, and as we got a chance to see from Luca yesterday, it's just been so great to see his growth over the course of this tournament. Those top 4 matches, that top 8 match already just so stellar in terms of the play we got a chance to see from him. But let's go ahead and relive some of these moments from this third game. We saw right away this Ice Rider Calyrex didn't necessarily end up getting knocked out to that first Draco Meteor, but Yuta was able to start to kind of mobilize through these Trick Room turns, potentially win this game.
I think things got very difficult here as well, with the Calyrex applying a lot of pressure, getting those chilling nade boosts as well. But the critical thing, I think, was actually at the very end, that last turn of Trick Room, going for the defensive play with the spiky shield, knowing the Miraidon had been preserved in the back for later with so much damage of Electro Drift. I think, again, timing it perfectly when Electric Train had left the field, being able to reset that with the Hadron Engine just meant that Luca was able to have the perfect endgame play. Calyrex going down here as well, unfortunate for Yuta.
Was very unfortunate there, but I think also just Luca being able to play through these Trick Room turns and preserving this Ogre Pawn was so important, despite the fact that he ended up terrestrializing it to this single fire type and actually removing its capability of being redirected from this Amoonguss. It was still able to withstand so many of these attacks, particularly that Glacial Lance, to know that it could be there by this Miraidon at the very end to remove the biggest threat. That Iron Valiant no longer able to go for something like that super effective Spirit Break, and it was just amazing. If there was going to be one person that could potentially get through this really unique matchup, it was Luca, and congratulations to him.
Let's hear it for your world champion! Luca, I know it's very fresh in your mind, but what do you think will stick out as the most memorable moment of your Worlds match?
I really don't know. I just feel like just the moment that sealed the game, I think this all I'm thinking about right now. Just the screen saying I won the last game, so I really don't have much else to say. All the memories are kind of blurry right now, but the most important moment for me was right after, when I was able to celebrate with my friends, which is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it must be overwhelming. We know you have put in so much work. You've had other top finishes and you've been practicing and playing. There are people out here who are thinking, you know what, I want to be like that. What advice would you give them to work hard and end up on this stage like you?
To be honest, this was very unexpected for me as well, so yeah, it's kind of difficult to say what was my preparation there. I just say just have some trust in yourself, something like that. Yeah, just train, and like, I can assure you, with the right friends, with the right preparation, with the right support beside you, everything can be possible.
That's great advice. Believe in yourself, practice hard. And there are a lot of people out here who believe in you as well. You said you were celebrating with your friends. Anyone you want to say hello or thank you to right now?
Well, if I'm gonna go name for name, we're gonna be here until tomorrow. So shout out to my friends of Build Server and all the Italian community.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support and congratulations again, Luca, your world champion. Now don't go anywhere. We have some trophies to give out. But for now, back to you, casters.
Such a deserving champion. What a series. The entire day has been nothing short of fantastic. That was so back and forth, Gabby.
It really was, and you could tell that both these trainers were just leaning in on those predictions for that end game. That was such an exciting match. I would have loved to see Calyrex Ice Rider win, but that was such an amazing game played by Luca and his Miraidon.
Thoughts, guys? Because honestly, I was out in the crowd for that, and everyone just losing it when Luca won.
Yeah, it was just absolutely incredible. So happy for Luca after seeing him kind of progress through this season, the top 8 at UIC, getting so close in the Bologna special event, and then coming into this event and just having an absolute amazing showing, coming into the final against such a hard opponent as well. And at times it looked like he's was against the wall and there wasn't really a way out, but really just staying resolute throughout and just getting over the line in such dominating fashion.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we got a game 3, right? That's, I feel like as casters, that's our big wish we're always hoping for, is to get to that pivotal game 3. But between both of them, we saw the fast modes, slow modes. It's very fitting that Miraidon wins its first World Championship in the Scarlet and Violet era that it's eligible for. So I think Miraidon was the real big meta call this weekend that players got rewarded for, and it got rewarded in the Masters division as well.
not even just the meta call for this weekend, but from the get-go, the second we had Regulation G, trainers were on this Pokemon from the start, electrifying win at the very first regional. It hasn't really slowed up from there. There was definitely good contenders along the way. Ice Rider almost did vie for the title, and even throughout the different championship matches that we got to see a variety of Stricteds really pushed together. I mean, Calyrex Shadow Rider as well had a fantastic showing here.
It really did, and it goes to show you that even if the metagame feels like it's in a position where, oh, only Calyrex Shadow Rider will win, oh, only Miraidon will win, there's a lot of opportunities for innovation, and we saw a lot of unique Pokemon picks, such as that Iron Valiant, such as Iron Treads from our juniors match, Joe, to try and capitalize on the fact that Miraidon was going to be one of the more powerful ones here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of quirky Pokemon across the board, because I never expected when we were looking at Regulation G an Iron Valiant to be in the grand finals here, which is absolutely fantastic and putting up a really good showing. To make a run with a Pokemon that maybe people didn't necessarily expect to and make it to the finals is nothing short of amazing. But Luca did such a good job in kind of weathering that and out on top, and just really good positioning the Iron Valiant with the Spirit Break, especially in that end game. I mean, didn't really get to do too much.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was just Luca able to kind of preserve the Ogapon at the very end when it really mattered, to have that follow me, to utilize, to pull that big threat out of the way and allow the Miraidon just to kind of finish things up. Like you say, Miraidon started the format successfully, and it's kind of poetic. It's ending the format successfully. Just an amazing job by Luca, and kind of look at that run and the opponents that he's had just from that top 8, not to mention everything from the entire weekend.
Yeah, and I do think big credit to, I think Lee pointed out the thematics of having 11 years later an Italian champion facing off against a Japanese finalist. It's very poetic to see here.
It really, really was. I mean, I love these photos. I just have to say that from the gate. There is so much personality on it. But I mean, even when we're looking at kind of the trends and kind of like what's thematic and stuff, Joe Brown, I know that you're always about those fun facts and those stats.
I am a big fan of fun facts, and for those who like to know useless information, they keep track of the Pokemon that win the World Championships in the Masters Division every single year. So we go back counting from 2009, and Utah unfortunately did not get Amoonguss that 4th victory. So Amoonguss is still tied at 3 for the most World Championships in the Masters Division with Incineroar, Salamence, Thundurus, and Cresselia. But other fun facts, Whimsicott, 2nd World Championship here for Luca. Iron Hands, 100% win rate, 2 for 2 on Shohei's team and Luca's team there. Urshifu, 2 out of 3 years. And now Farigiraf getting some revenge. Maybe Michael Kausch a little proud in the crowd, moving from finalist last year to now world champion.
I mean, Kyle, someone that maybe next year, because these runs back-to-back have been insane, but for those individuals on that list, not everyone can take that championship title, but you definitely have a nice chunk of change in your pocket to make sure that you can make the trip out to next year's World.
Yeah, not only do you get your invite as well for becoming a semi-finalist here at the World Championships. I mean, I don't know about y'all. I know we don't know where we're going yet, but I would hope that the prize money would be enough to afford a very extravagant trip to wherever Worlds will be next year.
Hey, you can get some plushies. You can get yourself a nice dinner with your friends after this weekend. Enjoy your time.
Yeah, Luke was buying tonight.
Yeah, it's a good day to be friends with Luca, everyone. But there's so much at the championships, and I know the money, I mean, it's absolutely great, but being able to be a world champion after this weekend, getting that trophy, that's the real prize here.
For sure, for sure. And what some great memories as well. I mean, we've seen this throughout all of the video game championship finalists and champions, with all the family there supporting them, all their friends supporting them. I mean, what a moment for these trainers.
It's fantastic. I mean, even Luca was saying, like, this moment of jumping off the stage, I mean, very fantastic.
It's those moments, isn't it, that you always remember when you think back to those World Championships, when a champion is crowned and they jump into the crowd and you've got all of their friends and family around them and kind of celebrating together. It's just a magical moment, and you know, this one is going to be immortalized now. Luca is the 2024 World Champion. It's incredible to see. So happy for him, and obviously everyone that is around him supporting him throughout the tournament.
Yeah, I think nobody's going to forget him jumping off stage with the fire going off. Very, very iconic similar to Sejun's spin move, right? Everybody remembers that from his victory, and I think it was just so cool. Immediately understanding not only was this a big win for him, but for his community, for his friends, really, you know, appreciating, being happy with himself for the victory, but also knowing the people that have helped get him to this position as champion.
Definitely one of my favorite moments, if not the top favorite moment. But of course, we want to make sure that we can hear about your favorite moment and share on Shoals what you thought of this weekend, who you're cheering for, what you enjoyed, and from every facet of the Pokemon World Championships, because we only get to cover a little bit of what's here in Hawaii, but it has been a great weekend overall. There's still a smidge more for today, though, because of course we have our trophy ceremony over on the stage with Anna.
Wow, Championship Sunday really has been something to remember. You all came to watch the show. None of our trainers went down without a fight. I want to say a special shout out to everyone who played at events this year, locals, regionals, internationals, and of course at Worlds. You are the reason that we're seeing such high caliber professional play here at Pokemon. So give yourselves a round of applause. Now we have some champions to crown. Please first give warm congratulations to your junior finalist, Tatsuomi Shimanuki. And now, let's hear it for our video game junior champion, Kevin Hahn! Next up, our video game senior finalist. Let's hear it for Luke Crow. Next up, our video game senior champion, Rei Yamanaka. And now for our Masters division. Your video game Masters finalist is Yuta Ishigaki. And finally, your video game Masters champion, Luca Ceribelli! Big final round of applause to these top trainers of the Pokemon 2024 World Championship! we reset the stage for closing ceremonies, we're going to stop in the Analyst Lounge one last time to recap the epic journeys from this year's event. Don't go anywhere because closing ceremonies will be starting very soon. And of course, we have some special announcements. I thought you'd like that.
All right, there you have it. Our champions have been crowned. The World Championships has almost come to a close. They are preparing for an amazing closing ceremony up on the big stage with some announcements that you are not going to want to miss. I know they are really good because they refuse to tell me what they are. Hi, everybody. I am Jake, aka Spraggles, your resident content cowboy here. I am joined by Scott, Ross, and Butters. We're going to be talking about Unite, TCG, VGC, and Pokémon Go, everything that happened this weekend while we get ready for those big announcements. Why don't we talk a little bit about VGC?
Hey, I think everyone probably just enjoyed a great show there. I don't know if we've ever had a better championship Sunday in the video game. Sometimes we get some strange matches when players get a full night to prepare. One side has a little advantage over another. Not the case at all this time. We went to 3 games in every set. Very much in doubt toward the end. Shout outs to our junior division world champion with a 5th place international championship, followed up by 2 firsts and winning worlds. Almost won every big tournament in that division. Senior division match, super close. Maybe a Draco Meteor connection away from a championship. And in that Masters Division final we just watched, so close toward the end there. Iron Valiant, valiantly coming up with a runner-up finish, and just an excellent win there by Luca. Unfortunately, Yuta just unable to break the curse of Japan never, ever winning on odd number years.
That is one of my favorite weird facts that we have about it, but somehow it still reigns true. Tell me a little bit about TCG.
Well, in TCG, up until now, we did have a nice little pattern where every 6 Worlds tournaments, Japan gets the win. We had a Japanese player in the final. Unfortunately, Shinosuke was unable to take the win here. What we had instead was Fernando Cifuentes' Iron Thorns deck, which a lot of people were not taking seriously coming in. Bit of a meme deck, bit of a joke deck. It's not got the best matchups. Matchup roulette is a phrase you'll hear a lot with it. And actually, if you can get all the way through the World Championships to the final and win, you've probably got pretty much good matchups across the board. Fernando proved everybody wrong. And Red Drago coming in, that's the deck to beat. 4 of them in Top Cut, didn't even get to the final.
Wow, amazing. Tell me about Pokemon Go. I know there's a lot to talk about, not just what happened with the championships, but there's more information that you guys revealed.
Oh yeah, I'm buzzing right now. This is the best day to be a Pokemon fan of the entire year, in my opinion. Actually, scratch that. Best 24 hours for Unite to be a part of that as well, because those sounded epic. And on our side, we had a trainer literally go from 0 wins in 2023 to the hero of 2024 and become the world champion. That is Yakai right there, our first ever APAC region Pokemon Go champion, and then Inadequates. He is one of the most consistent trainers in Championship Series, but he's also probably the most talented team builder and team composition reader there is. He is able to read the opponent like I have never seen. Unfortunately, Yakai was the only trainer that he was unable to read, and Yakai was able to 3-1 him today. Martel Galde also put on an amazing performance with Whimsicott. I know we saw that in the VGC, but you don't see that much in Pokemon Go, so that was pretty epic. Lurgan Rocket, Out of Pocket, our North American International Champion, PvP David, and Rocha Babyface. We had an awesome championship Sunday.
I gotta ask, they had never won before and they won the entire thing?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, I mean, they qualified 2 years in a row. So they had to qualify through the APAC qualifier. So they did do well in that. But in last year's Worlds, they went 0-2 and 0-4. They didn't win a single game. And this time, they didn't drop a single match. Going all the way through the winner's side of the bracket, Inadequates was unable to reset the bracket. So literally 0 to hero. It is an amazing Pokemon journey.
That is incredible. I mean, that makes me feel like maybe I could win. You know what? I think I can't, actually. Pokemon Unite was absolutely insane. We had another sort of number streak that was broken. We have only had a victor from North America. Both of our world championships were won by Luminosity. This year, day one, the former world champs knocked out of the tournament. Early in the day, we found out that we would not have a three-peat champion on our hands. In fact, it was going to have to be a region that had never made it to a grand finals before, which was pretty exciting. There were a few regions everyone had their eyes on. One was Japan. They have looked insane all year. It feels like Unite is exploding in Japan. The players are getting incredible, and Fennel was a team to look out for. We also had this early team Fusion, the first team to qualify through Worlds the entire year. They were the team to beat. Fusion starts making their way through the tournament, and then they end up getting knocked out by the underdog team, the dark horse, the team that so many people counted out, Zora Tigers Gaming from Korea. They make their way all the way through the bracket to the grand finals and face off against Japan, which is Fennel. Japan put on an insane performance, just like our last two world championships in dominant fashion. They won 3-0 against their opponents. They didn't end it with a period, but with an exclamation point. They are the world champions without a doubt. It was an amazing weekend, a new region on top, the former world champs not even in day two. It was very
in Pokemon Go, we had the same thing. Our former world champion got knocked out in day one. How did your guys' world champions do throughout this tournament?
Yeah. We had a bunch of world champions that we were tracking throughout the weekend. Tord Reklev was one match point away from making it into the top cut. Diego Casaraga, your 2017 champion, was very, very close. We saw Vance Kelly in day two. We had a bunch of former world champions having good runs. They all fell a little short. But I've got to ask you a question, Sprags, while we're here. This is the question. You know what the question's going to be?
I do, yeah.
Did we have any Mammothswine on stream this weekend on Unite?
So, last year this question was asked, and I said, no, of course not. Mammothswine is not good enough. This year, Mammothswine won the world championship.
Every time I looked at the screen, every single time, I see Mammothswine, my boy, plodding along. I saw Night Mammothswine. I saw Christmas hat Mammothswine.
That's right, yeah.
I saw the Mammothswine that looks exactly like me with a hoodie and headphones and a baseball cap. Oh, made my day, that did. Hey, TCG was good, but I like me some Mammothswine.
Another 0 to hero for Mammothswine, right? Didn't win any games last year.
That's right.
This year wins the entire thing.
That's right. Mammothswine, a Pokemon that everyone has loved in Unite, never found its place in the meta, and now all of a sudden is the biggest thing. And I really do think it's because of your question last year. I think that was huge.
People were watching and they went, there will be next year, Ross.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me a little bit, what happened with the champs?
I mean, we had a wide variety of champions. We're just throwing them at the bracket as quickly as we could. Every world champion who played on the stream in day one lost, so maybe we were the problem with the stream. We needed to stop showing them. We did have both our reigning world champion and well as a former world champion and Wolf Glick make it to the top 32 of the tournament. Both of them lost that round, and that was kind of a story of the tournament. I think a lot of our big names, our tournament favorites, really struggled, and it created a window for a lot of fun new players. Despite the big names not doing so well, I think the quality of play has really never been higher. So I think everyone's probably looking at this tournament thinking, oh man, I'm really going to have to work next year if I want to compete with these guys.
Amazing. I would love to talk with you boys about Mammothswine all night long, but we have the closing ceremony ready up on the big stage. Take it away.
We about to get some. Let's go. Come on, give us some news. Give us some news. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Give us some legit news. Give us some legit news. Please do not disappoint. Closing ceremonies. Give us something.
Hello, Pokemon fans and trainers. Have you had a good weekend? I thought so. Thank you all for being part of Pokemon Worlds 2024. Many years at Worlds, as you know, we like to preview the latest and greatest to come to the Pokemon universe, and this year is no different. But before we discuss the future, let's take a moment to look back on this weekend.
Shout out to all the ones who came before. You showed the way, you open up the door. Now we stand among legends and shout your names. Your light will never fade away. Shout out to all the ones who came before. You showed the way, you open up the door. Now we stand among legends and shout your names. The world will never be the same. Started at the bottom and you worked your way. You showed them you were awesome and you won the day. Striving for the top spot, no room for mistakes. Yeah, you showed us the way. You showed us how to train up, how to pass the test, how to make your mark, be the very best. And when the lights are up and the pressure's on, how to push and push till you're the only one. Making friends all along the way. Memories always here to stay. And that's why we say, shout out to all the ones who came before. You showed the way, you opened up the door. Now we stand among legends and shout your names. The world will never be the same. Now we have our champions. They've joined the best. To every single trainer, we give our respect. We all have a story. We passed the test. Yeah. We become legends. We learned how to train up, how to break the mold, how to build our team, how to win the gold. And when the lights are up and the pressure's on, how to push and push till you're the only.
If I was to do this, it would be for Pokémon tournament only. It wouldn't be for like the. It would be for Pokémon tournament.
Shout out to all the ones who came before. You showed the way, you opened up the door.
Oh, that's
Now we
cool.
stand among legends and shout
I gotta go to
your
World Championships one day, man.
Your light will never fade away. Shout out to all the ones who came before. You showed the way, you opened up the door.
As an OG, I just gotta go to experience it, man.
And shout your names. The world will never be the same.
Like, Pokemon was like my real first official game that was for me. That was mine. Like, it wasn't no one else. I got a Game Boy Color. It was no one else's. No one else's. I didn't have to borrow nobody else's stuff. I didn't play on my aunt or my cousin's consoles or anything. It was mine. It was mine. Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Yellow were my first two games.
What an event! The memories from this weekend will be treasured. I know I personally am so proud to be part of this with all of you. Now, we have some news and updates to share. To present those, please welcome to the stage the president and CEO of the Pokémon Company, Mr. Tsunekazu Ishihara!
Let's go. Come on, bro. You better give us some work. Give us some work. Y'all haven't done any information about the new game.
観戦してくださった皆さん、本当にありがとうございます。そして新しい世界チャンピオンになられた皆さん、心からおめでとうございます。
Thank you everyone for tuning in and congratulations to all of our new world champions.
今年の世界大会は格別なイベントとなりました。皆さんの温かいご支援に感謝いたします。
This has been one of our best events to date, and I am thankful to all of you for your warm support.
また今年の世界大会の成功にご尽力くださったボランティアの方々、大会スタッフの皆さんに感謝します。
And thank you to all of the staff and volunteers who worked so hard to make this event a big success.
それではこれからポケモンの最新情報をいくつかお伝えしましょう。
Now, I would like to share some of the latest news for our Pokemon games.
Come on, come on!
ポケモン GO は先日
Pokemon Go first,
8周年を迎えました。
Pokemon Go recently celebrated its 8th anniversary.
その間、より豊かなゲームに成長していくのを私は目の当たりにしてきました。地元の公園で友達と一緒にレイドを楽しむ遊びから最高レベルの競技プレイまで誰もが楽しめる幅広いゲームになりました。そんなポケモン GO に新機能がまだまだ追加されます。
It has been exciting for me to see how full and rich the game has become, with something for everyone, from friends raiding together in local parks to the highest tiers of competitive play. And there are still many more new features to come.
では予告をご覧ください。
Here is a preview.
I ain't gonna lie, I might need to get back into Pokemon Go.
モルペコがポケモン GO に登場します。スペシャルアタックを使ってバトル中に姿を変えることができます。
So Morpeko is coming to Pokemon Go, and it will have the ability to change its form within a battle using a charged attack.
ポケモン GO のバトル環境にどう影響するのか楽しみです。
We're very excited to see how it may affect the Pokemon Go's competitive environment.
さらにポケモン GO の世界に新たに巨大な新機能が加わります。近日中に公開される続報をお楽しみに。
Additionally, you can look forward to something gigantic coming to the world of Pokemon Go. Please stay tuned for more details soon.
They're bringing Gigantamax into Pokemon Go. That's what it's got to be.
ポケモンユナイトは3周年を迎えました。
Pokemon Unite recently celebrated its 3rd anniversary.
そして現在アクティブで情熱的なコミュニティが築かれていることに感謝の気持ちでいっぱいです。その証が昨日の決勝戦にも現れていました。一昨日に発表された500点選手の新モードは今後の戦いに大きな影響を与えるかもしれません。
I'm thankful that we have such an active and passionate community, and the World Finals match yesterday was truly a testament to their spirit. And the new 500-point mode that was revealed the other day may have a role in future competitions.
さて、ポケモンユナイトの最新映像はこちらです。
Here's the sneak peek at the next updates for Pokemon Unite.
Rouge. Darkrai's coming to Pokemon Unite. Okay. Psyduck?
グレンアルマ、ダークアイ、コダックが参戦します。近日中公開される続報をお待ちください。
Armor Rouge, Darkrai, and Psyduck are preparing to dive into the action. More information will be coming your way in the near future. Please stay tuned.
次に今年リリースされるポケモントレーディングカードゲームポケットの最新映像をご紹介します。
And now, please take a look at this new trailer for this year's upcoming title, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket.
They're just digital versions of the card, though, right? Ugh. When the card game goes digital, who would have thought? October 30th, huh? Nah, I'm good. Oh, snap. Look at me too.
1996年の発売以来、世界中で楽しまれているのがポケモンカードを集めることです。手軽にポケモンカードをコレクションする楽しさを新たなデジタルフォーマットでお届けするのがポケモントレーディングカードゲームポケットです。
Players all over the world have been enjoying collecting Pokemon cards since their debut in 1996. Now, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket lets you easily collect Pokemon cards in a new digital format.
本日からアップストアと Google プレイで事前登録ができるようになりました。この秋、皆さんにポケモントレーディングカードゲームポケットを遊んでもらえるのを楽しみにしています。
Trainers can pre-register now via the App Store and Google Play, and we're so excited for you to have the opportunity to play Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket this fall.
続いてはポケモンカードゲームの最新情報をお知らせしたいと思います。
Next, we'd like to share some news about the Pokemon Trading Card Game.
こちらの映像をご覧ください。
So please have a look at this video.
They're gonna do everything. They're gonna even do sleep, bro. They're Pokemon sleep. They killing me, man. They're killing me, bro. So much Pokemon shit now. Is that restaurant? In Zoroark, sorry. In's restaurant. In's restaurant. Yo! They do got a lot of dope stuff coming for everything.
トレーナーのポケモンの登場でさらなる盛り上がりを見せるポケモンカードゲームをお楽しみに。
We hope you look forward to the excitement that the introduction of trainers Pokemon will bring to the Pokemon trading card game.
ホノルルでの世界大会2024はここに幕を閉じますが、今後の世界大会を見据えたいと思います。次の世界大会の開催地を見てみましょう。
Now we're about to close out our event here in Honolulu. I would like to take a look at the future of the Pokemon World Championships. Let's see where we're going next.
Going to America for sure. But where? Is that Florida or California? California. Going to Hollywood. Chicago? Okay. Anaheim. What is Anaheim?
ポケモンをいつも応援していただき本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you. Thank you everyone for always supporting Pokemon.
それでは皆さん、来年もまたお会いしましょう。
And I look forward to seeing you all next year.
Oh, that's a rip. Nothing about ZA?
Thank you so much, Mr. Ishihara! As the 2024 Pokemon World Championships draw to a close, we leave more fulfilled and inspired than ever before. We've crowned new world champions and made new friendships and memories that will last a lifetime. The future of Pokemon shines bright, With the 2025 season coming up quickly on the horizon, a heartfelt thank you to our gracious hosts in Hawaii for the unforgettable weekend. Thank you all for your unwavering support of Pokemon. Until next time, trainers, stay strong, stay passionate, and we'll see you in the next chapter of our incredible journey. Bye for now.
Man, that was kind of a jip. That was literally a jip. No ZA, nothing.
We are not getting any news until February of next year. The only reason we know we're getting February is because it's Pokemon Day. And that's the only time they could. Brother, oh my fucking god. Who was right? Who did not lie? Because who did say, oh, they're still going to talk about, he literally said, they're still only going to talk about that game next year. So that means whenever we do get next year's Pokemon Presents, it's just going to be, well, the regular, spin-off game stuff. And then the only mainline shit we're going to hear is Legend ZA actual gameplay. Brother.
Yeah, but everyone called Cool crazy and like not creditable because he said that, and now it's
not me. Not me.
Not
me
you.
on that one.
Not me either. But like everyone on the internet was like, yeah,
brother, you know all they had to do was just show us 2 frames of gameplay, and we would have been happy.
This music, man.
Well, boys,
up to exactly 6 a.m. right now, 4 bits.
I stayed up this long for basically nothing.
Nothing.
Oh my god.
I mean, at least we're getting a pretty fucking restroom card.
Man, this is a rip.
That look cool.
True, getting a nice restroom card.
Pretty. I'm never gonna own it, but it's pretty.
Well, boys, it's over. It's Jover. We're not getting any. Like, no, seriously, no. I know it might seem like I'm memeing or whatever. We're not getting any Pokemon news for another. Let me think. September, October, November, December, January. So another 6 months. We're not getting any Pokemon news for 6 months. So that's gonna be fun.
It's definitely a jip, man.
I just wasted all this time for fucking Pokemon card. Yeah, we got a card at least. Okay.
You got 1.1k in your chat.
Yeah, no, I can see. It's just no point to y'all being here, guys. It's over, boys. There's no news. Go to sleep. Go rest. Gamescom, highly doubt. Jay, don't get excited, bro. There's nothing. Nothing happens at Gamescom for Pokemon ever. Let's see. What time sleep for first?
There is no announcement. There will never be an announcement.
Yeah, no, it's over, boys.
Bro, I can't believe how much of a jip this is. I am highly disappointed.
Yep. I mean, man, was it that hard just to show something? Just anything, something, please.
Just show us a fucking 2 FPS render of a Pikachu dancing around.
Show us just one Pokemon or something at least.
Just so we know you didn't forget at least, you know?
L stream, not yours, Rufford. I mean the World Championship.
Oh, it's alright, man. Don't worry about it. Even my stream was L, to be honest.
Hey, at least we're seeing it on the screen right now. Red ball drills.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Not much that can be done.
The music. Jeepers weepers.
Wait, it's gonna cut to black and then one more thing.
I wish.
It is what it is.
Yeah, just to piss off everyone who just like, left and closed the stream.
Oh well, it is what it is, boys. Time to go to sleep. So I will catch you guys in chat. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Have a great day. Bye, boys. Thank you for today.
Man, that's gotta be the biggest jip / rip ever, bro. It's been 6 months since y'all announced it. Y'all could have showed something. Y'all literally could have showed something. Y'all showed nothing, bro. It was literally like a kick in the face. And not just for us, for everybody that was there. Everybody that was present, that was literally a slap in the face. You announced ZA 5 months ago and you didn't say shit. Yo. ZA was literally announced 5 to 6 months ago. And there's no news.
Let's go. We've been waiting all year, and we're so ready for this. We know why we
Alright, well, I stuck it out. I watched. I tried to. I'm gonna be mad if I leave the stream though, and then there's like some video at the end of this. But it is what it is. I'm hungry, I'm tired. I got things to do tomorrow. I've been editing videos while doing this. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the matches. But man, it is what it is. I'm out. I will catch you guys later on the flip side.